everywhere. We looking into everything. Okay, so today this is a learn with me, as some of you may know, some may not know, but those who've been following, I've been doing a learn with me criminal law, let's say, series. This is going to be like our case study. We've been using the Nolan Wells case to kind of just understand criminal law in a different way. I feel that we have a tendency, as people maybe are not practitioners of law, we look at stuff differently than someone who is, right? And as I'm trying to condition my brain to look at things differently, I figured this would be a very interesting case to pick as they're so early in the process of looking through the information, right? So we're going to be using the Legally Everywhere framework that I have here on my channel. For those who have been a part of it, you know, I have a framework that I use as I work through material. And essentially how to explain that framework really concisely. It's pretty much law, life, logic, kind of explaining through the lens of like people, relationships, strategic actors. We're going to frame it a little differently and talk about some of these timeline theories that I've been finding online, because once again, they're in the middle of an investigation, so we don't have definitive things that we can pull from and say, hey, these are things that they have said will be used as evidence, but we have certain information that has been presented that we can certainly look at, review, and kind of look at it through a lens like, how might a criminal defense team look at this information? How might prosecutors look at this information? How's the family processing this information? How is the general public and community consuming this information? You know, you have the actual court system, and then sometimes you have the court of opinion, right? So what I'm trying to do is frame a lot of this to, one, acknowledge that, you know, that is one piece, but to more so look at it from a criminal law perspective. Okay, so we examine what in this live, we're going to look at people, relationships, strategic actors. We're going to look at some very specific strategic actors, because I will be pulling their interviews and putting them on the screen. We'll be talking once again about the timelines, or let's say theories about timelines at this point. We're going to talk about some physical environments, because I got some interesting receipts. I've been out here looking, and I got some interesting receipts. Specifically one about referencing flock cameras. So yeah, so stay tuned for that part. And we're gonna talk about some procedural developments surrounding this case. So that's pretty much what we're doing today. I wanted to make sure, as I actually start to jump back into this series, that we're kind of starting with the same exact baseline as we move through. So as far as like establishing some of the rules of what I'm going to be presenting, I want us to separate observations from interpretations, because we'll have some of that happens. Once again, I'm pulling some things from social media. It's all about how would those teams interact with this information, right? How would the criminal defense team interact with it? How would the prosecuting team, and maybe even lawyers, right? When we're talking about the civil elements of it. So how might they interact with the information? Because now these things are otherwise discoverable. So they are out in public domain, right? How might they interact with this information? How might this guide certain movements and certain posture that's being had relevant to this case? I'm also going to be identifying the source at each piece of information. So if you're like, hey, I want to look into that a little bit more, I'm interested in the particular artist or creator, content creator, however they want to refer to themselves. Look, I don't want to just make titles for people. I like to call them social investigators that I'll be referencing, but the social investigators, the interviewers, I will tell you exactly where I pulled their information from. Another interesting development is one of the content creators who was really doing a lot of work, and they were being cited by a lot of creators, even Nancy Grace and Don Lemon, were referencing their work. Literally, their TikTok page where they're producing a lot of this content quite literally got banned tonight. So I'll be showing some of the content. I'll give you their handler, continue to give you their handler, as I believe they're going to be working on creating a YouTube channel. But once again, we're going to talk about the strategic actors, some of these people who are playing pivotal roles in this case from various perspectives, right? Those directly working as lawyers, potential defendants, the family, the plaintiff, will be talking about some of those other people who are peripherally around some of those family members who they've been discussing relevant to some of these cases. Other friends who have done interviews and some of the movements with some of those conversations. Like, we'll talk a little bit about a few different people. I won't go through every single thing that's on the internet because that's a little too obtuse, right? That's a little much for one person to do. But what I will do is I have numerous videos. We have about a couple minutes for each one, so you can kind of get a little sauce of what they said. I didn't chop anything out of content, so I did each segment that was presented, and we're gonna literally just look at it, right? We're gonna look at what supports certain understandings that we have and what contradicts. Like, I thought it was really interesting from my perspective that it appeared at the second interview for a lot of people, they were starting to contradict their first interview, because it threw me off. I was like, wait a minute, did I understand that correctly? So we'll look at one interview that was done by one friend, and that gentleman did an interview with TMZ by himself, and then there was a opposite, let's say, posture that was given when the interview was done with a journalist, and their parent was present and Nolan's mother was present in that particular interview, right? We will look at the posture of Warren when he did his interview with Officer Tatum, and then how that posture somewhat changed when he did the second interview with the larger group, as well as the attorney from the Cox firm present, right? I noticed that there were some changes in some of the things that they were saying, and there are actually, ironically, some contradictions. So what were those? Do we feel like those were relevant contradictions? I mean, a contradiction is a contradiction, right? But do we feel like that was relevant to impact maybe how the case may go? Or do we feel like it just impacted maybe the way people in the community, maybe the public, is looking at certain information? Do we feel like it affects their credibility, right? As, you know, they're making statements, not necessarily official statements, because this is, you know, just interviews out in the community, right? But as they're making these statements, I also want to, like, avoid treating possibilities as if that's proof that something happened, because I will be showing you quite a bit of information. I don't want to say that this proves that, but we certainly see some connections, and we're going to talk about the connections. We're going to look at the connections, but I don't want us to be like, oh, yeah, she said this and she proved that. No, 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 no. Definitely don't do that. Okay. So, and then also I want to have, because like I said, I got a lot of notes sitting over here. I want us to kind of like have fun with this. So I want it to be somewhat interactive, as I'm kind of like, once again, I'm learning with you guys. You guys are learning with me. This is a case that is what? It is ongoing. It is still in points of investigation. It's still collecting certain things. At this point, I believe they're still even trying to get the phone, right? That's a whole other piece of the conversation. I'll show y'all that clip. But it's new, as in we know that there's a family actively grieving this, so we definitely want to be kind in the comments. Make sure that we're not saying things that can be super inflammatory, because we just don't know how social media, right? We never know who it pings to and who gets access to it. So if the family, it so happens to be perusing, doom scrolling, whatever online, we just want to make sure that they were to come into the comments, they're not reading something that would be super triggering to them. So try to be kind. We definitely want to make sure we look at this from a criminal law perspective. Because that's what the purpose of this is. We want to learn together and kind of look at it with a different set of eyes. Once again, this is like a baseline kind of live that I'm doing. I'm trying to streamline as much information, because I'm going to start to jump more into the doctrines and the setups of like criminal law, and I need to make sure that we have the same exact baseline of information if I'm doing this case study, so to speak. So that's pretty much what this live is. We dump in a lot of things, but we're putting it through the Legally Everywhere framework that we use on this channel. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? I see a little movement in the chat. I see there are so many people here. Hi, and thank you so much for being with me this evening. I know it's a little bit of a later live than I normally do, but I definitely just want to shout you all out. Thank you. I see that. Looks like Jeff said they're going to hang out with us on the couch, so I appreciate that. Thank you, Jeff. I see that we have an Alfreda who is waving. All right. Thank you so much for waving and saying hey and being part of the community. I see that we have your local edits here. Thank you for the compliment. Thank you for the engagement. I see some other comments. Let's see. Vargas, you want to say hello from Brazil. Hi from Brazil. Once again, we never know where these lives go. I know that I have a larger audience here with Legally Everywhere, but I'm always so excited to see who comes and who's willing to engage with this content that I'm doing here. It's always so humbling to know that people are coming from all over. So thank you all for being in the channel. This is a little bit of a later live, but thank you so much for sitting with me as we start to move through this. Okay. So any other questions? Any other comments? Okay. So excited. Oh my gosh. So before I actually show you the NAACP announcement, because that was really interesting, right? I got a notification around somewhere between like 1:30 and 2 o'clock. Yeah, between like 1:30 and 2 p.m. today, stating that the NAACP decided to take a like more active role in what is happening with this case. So they actually put out a press release. So I said, okay, let me wait a little bit. I'll come back later in the day and actually go pull it, which is what I'm going to do. Before I jump into that piece, I know a lot of times people ask the question like, why? So I found a clip that is not at all connected. It is actually from a TV show, but just kind of lays some foundation when someone's saying, I just want to get an answer. I just want some transparency. It is not saying that any of this is like directly connected to this case. I'm not saying that it's a direct connection, right? But what I thought was really important, because I don't want you guys to get the impression I'm saying that this is the like the legal authority or the authority that's framing this. No. What I'm saying is that it would illustrate really well the conversation of like a fair process and the push for like transparency and accountability and equal consideration. And it was really moving piece, and I thought that that would be a good starting place, just because once again this started off with the family saying, what we want information, we want transparency, we want answers. What happened? We want to know what happened to this young man. He should be in college right now, the mother told us by way of social media, but her child is not here. Her child had to be buried. Her son, I believe his birthday would have been on the 19th, but he didn't get to celebrate, right? That family deserves some answers. The public is, you know, within their rights to push for that family to be able to get their answers, and we would want the justice system to be able to do what it's supposed to do, right? We also don't want to push them to do something and do it incorrectly. So we want them to make sure that they are taking the proper steps and doing it the correct way. So they need a little bit of extra time to make sure they're selecting the right charge with the right people for the right reasons, right? We want to make sure they're doing it, because they can't do double jeopardies and stuff like that, right? But we want to make sure that this family gets some answers, because that is fair. So when we ask the question, why are they pushing for this transparency? Why are they pushing for this accountability? Why are they pushing for equal consideration? I want to give something that feels a little bit more removed, right? Something from a TV show, right? To make it a little bit more comfortable to kind of just walk into this conversation. So if you will, right? You're familiar with the Shonda, what's it called? Shonda Land. She did an amazing body of work some years back. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Racism is built into the DNA of America. And as long as we turn a blind eye to the pain of those suffering under its oppression, we will never escape those origins. The only safeguard people of color have is the right to a defense, and we won't even give them that. Which means that the promise of civil rights has never been fulfilled. Due to the failure of our justice system, our public defense system in particular, Jim Crow is alive and kicking. Laws that made it illegal for blacks and whites to be buried in the same cemetery. They categorize people into courtrooms and octorooms. They punish a black person for seeking medical attention in a white hospital. Some may claim that slavery has ended, but tell that to the inmates who are kept in cages and told that they don't have any rights at all. People like my client Nathaniel Leahy and millions of people like him who are relegated to a subclass of human existence in our prisons. There is no alternative to justice in this case. There is no other option. To decide against my plaintiff is to choose lining the pockets of prison owners over providing basic defense for the people who live in them. And is that the America that this court really wants to live in? Where money is more important than humanity? Where criminality is confused with mental health? The Sixth Amendment was ratified in 1791. It's been 226 years since then. Let's finally guarantee its rights to all of our citizens.
The actress Kerry Washington, who was actually pictured in here, put this up recently. Now, like I said, I'm not saying that that's a direct connection, right? Not saying it's a direct connection. What I'm saying is when we're talking about foundation, when we're talking about the foundations of saying you want to, one, acknowledge that there is a certain history and foundation that does exist in this country, right? We also want to acknowledge that we're talking about accountability. We're talking about equality and fairness. We're talking about the family saying that they want to get information. We are talking about the fact that there have been conversations about some, let's say, environmental or social elements that could be at play. And as Reverend Al Sharpton said in his initial press release, you know, they want information. Let the chips fall where they may. You're not making any immediate assumptions about race factors, right? We're not making any immediate assumptions. What we want is information. So this particular clip wasn't to highlight the elements of saying that, oh, this inherently is directly connected to that. I don't want to make that association, but what I am saying is what that particular clip came from a call to say that they wanted to have that client have access to the correctional system and the process, like the criminal law process, right? The person was being denied certain access and they wanted to make sure that they had fair and proper access. So that was kind of where that came from. It was a very powerful clip, and it's just kind of like, I thought, a nice way to put some foundation and more so like introduction to the clip that I'm going to show you for the NAACP. Oh, let me show you this piece right here. See if you can see this from part of the original press release where Reverend Al Sharpton, he said on July 10th during a news conference calling for transparent investigation into the death of Nolan Wells. Keep it in mind, right? Originally, they said it was an accidental death, and they didn't look into it. And the family said, no, we want this looked into, right? So the family initially had to advocate to have an investigation done, right? So what was said is, you don't rush the judgment saying it was racism, right? You say don't rush the judgment saying it was racism. Don't rush the judgment saying it was not racism, because what we don't know. Sharpton says, we want justice. Let the chips fall where they may. Okay? So once again, we're not rushing the judgment. We want the chips to fall where they may, but what we want, information. So that was back in July 10th. And since that time frame, wait a minute. I'll pull it this way then. That's not there. Then we will grab this one. So As y'all can see, the NAACP Office of General Counsel joins a Nolan Wells family's legal team, right? So this is as of today, okay? And then this is what the actual release looks like. The NAACP Office of General Counsel today announced that it's joining the legal team surrounding the death of Nolan Wells, a young black man who died under circumstances that remain insufficiently explained. What? Because we want answers. It further states, quote, "We're taking up this fight to search for the truth and to demand transparency concerning the tragic death of Nolan Wells," end quote, says Kristen Clark, General Counsel of the NAACP. Quote, "Our investigation will be victim-focused, community-based, and sensitive to the ongoing pain felt by the Nolan Wells family and his community, drawing on the association's long history of pushing for full and fair investigations when Black lives are lost under suspicious circumstances. We will bring additional investigative and legal resources to bear and ensure that no stone is left unturned in this quest for truth and accountability for Nolan Wells' family." And then it kind of talks a little bit more about the NAACP history. And if you're interested in that, I definitely encourage you to go, check out their site and go look at that and, peruse through if you're interested in some historical information. If that's something you guys want at some point, of course, I can do that. But I just wanted to bring attention to that because that is absolutely a new development in this process. They had not had this specific posture before. They go from saying, hey, we are a part of the support and saying, we're here, to physically saying, no, we are lending what resources. That's a part of the Legally Everywhere framework where we talk about the economical element. They are now saying we are a part of what? We're part of the legal team and we'll be leading with our resources. Their demand is for what? Transparency, but they're also saying to be tender-hearted about how we're handling discussion of the family as this is ongoing, right? It is also talk about what? Being victim-focused. Okay? Because that's super important. Like I said, in previous slides, we have found out that his mother, Nolan Wells' mother, people reported this woman's nursing license. Could you imagine you lose your child and someone says, as you're trying to advocate for people to at least investigate, look in to the situation so that you can, safely put him to rest, they literally report her license. Now, I'm not saying the opposing legal team or his self-reported friends did it. I'm saying the community, people within the community actually went and reported this lady's license. For people who have had professional license, it is easy to report and hard to protect, okay? Yes, with your documentation, you always protect yourself. But I'm saying if somebody wants to just say, hey, I know who this person is, go look them up and make a claim, it's very easy for people to do, and it can dramatically impact someone's life. From an economic perspective, when your license is on hold, if you're primarily working specifically in that industry, which most people are, money is put on hold because you can't use the license while they're reviewing it. So it's very mean-spirited when someone went to go report this lady's license, that she's probably trying to gather and gain some level of normancy. Some vulture sat there and reported her. Actually, they said multiple people reported her license while she's in a place of bereavement. Wow, on top of that, keep in mind that the friends, self-reported friends of her child who were present when her child, or maybe around the time that her child was reported to be missing and then passed, their legal team has gone to say that they're going to sue, or maybe potentially sue, because the things that she did by trying to advocate for her child to be the case to be investigated caused so much distress to them that was the origins. So they believe that can be grounds for defamation. Like, what? To me, my flabbers were gassed. Like, I wanted to clutch pearls. I don't even know how to fully digest that kind of information. Could you? I could only imagine, right? So, once again, we are kind of seeing that there is some support being put in place. So now we have the NAACP as a strategic actor. They are newer. This is brand new. So I'm going to kind of work y'all in reverse with some of the things I just found and work us back to what I gave as the last report out a couple of days ago. So kind of working us backwards, if that makes sense. I see some movement in the comment. Someone says upside down. This one I didn't get to flip and invert. I do apologize about that. Sometimes I'm able to put things in my computer so I can flip the image and you guys can read it. I'm gonna figure out some alternate ways around that. But I wanted to make sure I showed you the receipt. When I go chop this up later, I'll try to see if I can go in and maybe put it as a sticker so that you can see the original document as it's displayed here on the screen. So hopefully that will be a nice workaround. Thank you for giving me that information, Jermaine. There's a I'm going to, let's see. So once again, I'm going to encourage people to be kind in the comments, and keep in mind that the family could be reading things that are in the comments, right? Especially when someone loses their life and they're so young. Once again, this young man would have had a birthday, I believe, on the 19th, which is 2 days from now. This young man was supposed to be on college campus right about now. He didn't get to do that. My understanding was that the day of the boating incident, he had an interview for a football scholarship. So there is great talent that this world lost, and we want to make sure that we are very respectful of his experience, his life here, and what he meant to his family and his community, and just make sure that as we try to bring justice for that, that we are very kind and respectful in the comments. That at any point in time that's something that can't be upheld. I have no objections to kindly ushering you off of this channel, but if you're able to not put things like that in the chat and stay, I welcome you to stay. As we move forward, we're going to continue to talk about some of the strategic actors that are on the Legally Everywhere framework. But once again, you know, we have to also make sure we level set, because I want this to be a safe space. I always told you guys I would make sure I hold a safe space for y'all as we move through information. So I'm doing my part by doing what I said I would do at all times. Okay? So once again, we're going to talk about strategic actors, right? We're going to part 2 of this. So the strategic actors will be Nolan and his family, right? That's one. You have the individuals who were reported to be on the boat. We're finding out as things are developing, and we're finding out there are new people or more people who weren't originally being discussed as being present on the boat. We will jump into literally some of that. We have the parents. We're having some information about grandparents, and even some other connected adults. We have an attorney that was representing, or let's say advising. We'll have an actual video where I feel like they're offering some advising to their clients. We can see it during that interview a little bit. Or better yet, what we'll say is I felt that I observed some advising as they were doing the second portion of the interview, which I will show you in a few moments. You'll notice that the person wearing the cocked hat is actually the attorney. It's very interesting that everyone's dressed real casually. You'll notice at moments when they're talking about certain things, they kind of eyeball and check with each other, and you'll notice certain conversations will come up. Officer Taylor will ask certain things. He'll take his hat and he'll do this. He'll kind of reposition himself, and he does this with the hat. When I show you that clip, make sure you kind of look for that. That's posturing, a little bit like of advising. It's kind of telling like, hey, kind of watch certain conversations, right? You can tell they get uncomfortable and they start trying to modify certain portions of that conversation there and get in a little bit of a different direction. Something to monitor. I'm not saying this means that, but I'm saying we want to observe things that are observable, right? So that will be interesting. We have a little bit of content about Cox, or the Cox firm. So I'll show you that. We have something. I got a little bit of context about Officer Tatum, because I thought it was really interesting. We keep seeing that the people who have identified themselves as Nolan's friends, we have been seeing that it's almost like they exclusively, like that group more so, they exclusively were doing interviews with Officer Tatum, which has made me question, like, what is the relationship? What is the connection? What makes them comfortable with maybe this particular interview as opposed to taking on interviews with other people? Because that was just really interesting to me. So I was like, what information can we get about Officer Tatum? I see in the chat that someone's saying he's not an officer anymore. Okay. So maybe that's something we can get information about at some point. But I'm going to presume at least maybe he was an officer at some point, and maybe that's why he was going with that posture or position of authority, you know, with that title, right? Definitely something to look into. I see some more comments on you. Okay, so yeah, all the phones, Ashley, Sheriff. Okay, yes. So I agree. I see the comments about several things that we're going to actually cover. Yes, it is getting very, very real. One member did actually post something, I guess it's called from their snaps, which had like a timestamp on it. I will show you that as well. Yes. Is it Milo and Nyla? Listen, we're here. We are here, okay? So stick with me. And as we're continuing to talk about some of those strategic actors, because you're right, that we're talking about the friends, the journalists. But even back to like the Officer Tatum situation, I found that he got on a couple of shows and he kind of gave us some ideas about his thought process and some of his ideologies. And I thought that'd be nice information for us to at least kind of look at and get a little bit of understanding about their comfort, about being able to work with him and his views on certain things. I'm trying to pick things that I thought were kind of a little bit more closely connected to the case that was from that grouping of interview, or it was kind of like more like a debate thing that happened online, but it was there, and I said I'll give it to y'all in case y'all want it. Once again, it's not for judgment, it's just for context. We have the different journalists, we have the different people, we have like Nancy Grace, we'll have like Don Lemon clips and things that we've had historically here, and a couple of extra pieces that we've added. Those are things that we can kind of look at and peruse and kind of get that information. Those are strategic actors. They're all having their part. Some people are able to leave, or better yet, let's say share, leverage their platforms to bring attention to things. Some people can push politically for some things. Or even some people who are using their subject matter expertise, their background. The engineer, we talked about her in length at the beginning of me kind of starting this series, right? So all of these people have unique roles that they play as strategic actors in this particular case. Everyone kind of has a unique piece that they play. Some people, as things progress, like obviously like when they get into the point of actually getting into a courtroom, which is what we hope kind of moves forward, right? Some strategic actors' roles will be firmer. But as we are in a process of investigation, we're trying to bring attention to certain things. We even have, let's say, social investigators. Like the one content creator I'm going to show you, who ironically got banned today. I'm going to use the word interesting, right? I'm going to use the word interesting. I could think of a better word, but right, I won't say that word. I'll say I think it's very interesting as she's been digging into this case and really getting information, making certain connections, that her account was getting flagged so much, now it's banned. What I found even more salient, right, because I was curious, and that's another reason why it was later than I thought. I scoured the internet for some hours trying to really bring some more attention to the fact that I looked. If the content itself was what was problematic, like her videos, anybody who had referenced her stuff, they would have got a strike, right? They would have got a strike too, because she's been featured on all kinds of channels, right? They didn't strike those because I embedded a couple of pieces from previous videos that I did, as we talked about, as a conversation piece. I didn't get a strike, and I looked to some other content people I specifically looked for. I tried to find at least 4 or 5, you know, there's a sample size. I didn't see that they got any strikes. I didn't see people got strikes on TikTok. So it just made me very intrigued, is the word we'll use. I was intrigued. So I'll be looking into that development a little bit more. But once again, I do believe that she will more than likely get a YouTube page. But once again, similar things could happen if she has, let's say, inflamed someone or some individuals. That potentially could happen again if someone reports you. But it's very interesting. So I always had thought what hit dogs holler, but that's as much as I'm gonna say about that. I just will say it is interesting. Okay? I agree. You said someone is stating, well, Milo and Neela, NACP now involved, and that's going to be huge. Yeah. Yeah. And they were talking about Javon. I also have his interview. I had his initial interview he did with TMZ, and then the bigger one that he did with his family, so we can kind of look at that too. So I told you guys I'm going to try to give us a nice little baseline, kind of pulling as many pieces as I can here, so when I kind of jump in and we kind of look at certain doctrines and certain rules and certain things and authorities, we kind of have a point of information and reference. Okay, he said the mom just did a new one. Okay, I might need to look at that. Was it new as in today? Or newer? And what timeline? Or what time frame, rather? Do you know? Yes, okay. So I might not have it, but no worries. Y'all know me. I'll come back with it because this is a baseline one. So wherever I leave off from here, I can build back up later in the week. Okay. With that being said, let's pop into going in reverse. Let's go in reverse. So you'll have quite a few interesting pieces. Oh, you know what? This is the newest thing I found. I'm going to show you something very interesting. Because what I find very peculiar is the discussion of us not really being able to verify. You know, we see that there was images of Nolan kind of walking onto a boat. We see that, you know, they have movements of him previously, but there was no picture or movement after, like him getting off of a boat, right? And I was like, man, that's interesting, but I wasn't as familiar with that particular terrain. I assumed that nowadays they would have cameras and things like that. Well, somebody was thinking some similar things. You know how they've been talking about flock cameras all over the good old internet? Well, guess what? Someone showed that there was flock cameras over there. So if you followed the last live that I did, I showed you kind of like some of the geo mapping of the trip that was taken from them being at the event to one of the last places that they said the boat was, right? That night. Basically them dropping, it looks like they were just dropping people off. One of those stops, this is the flock camera that's there. Ironically, it's actually really close to where one of the friends, self-identified friends, their grandparents stay. I'm going to allow you to listen to this content creator as they show us. This is more, I didn't want to give y'all a whole bunch of maps and me mapping, so I'm going to just show y'all the receipts, because what we've given to these receipts. Yes, okay. They also have a police officer manning this area. I don't also feel like that really saying too much, because I don't think it's abnormal to have a police manning like a dock or marina of any sort. But it's just really interesting that they right there. So I want y'all to see this. Okay. 1 minute.
Holy shit. Let me show y'all. Let me wait till this truck leaves. Where's my fucking glasses? He's just parked there. Let me put my on. Okay. Okay, he's driving away. All right, let me show y'all something. Y'all ain't gonna fucking believe this. All right, so I am at... There's even a sign that says camera and use. Okay, so I am at the Ocean Springs Front Beach Pier. Okay, this is where people dock their fucking boats. This is where you bring... This is where you bring your boat. Okay, so this is where the boat launch is. Check this out. When I tell you that this is allegedly one of their stops, and also the judge's parents' house is right here around the corner, as well as one of the other people that was... Hold on, what? You okay?
No, tickled.
Tickled? Oh my goodness. Okay, so anyway, if you pay attention, you'll be able to know what is where. There's a cop right across the street watching me, but let me show you something.
Look at this.
All right, I'm gonna pan over here. Look at this beautiful, beautiful weather. Look at that. What's that? See that see that cop sitting right there? Crocs on ground. You're never gonna believe what I just found.
All right. And this is by creator Bree. Just Bree. She said that she wanted the information to be shared, so I went ahead and did that one as a screen recorded. She had it as a shareable, then she like modified. She said she was doing some things. I guess people trying to do some odd stuff to her channel as well. So go ahead and look her up. I believe her page is public, and go ahead and give that a view. I think she has some more content as well. But once again, right, that's an interesting development, right? That's a very interesting development that there are flock cameras there. I haven't heard anybody mention a flock camera. So if it's your first time hearing it, well, first time hearing it here. But also, it's very interesting. It seems like there should be some content that should be able to be pulled from there to help if they're doing an investigation. Something should be able to be pulled from that flock camera. On top of the fact that we live in a social time where people constantly have phones, so there are people constantly having drones in the air, especially if there's social activities happening. There are constantly people having their phones out. There is information out there, and it's also some of how we got some of the content that we have here. Okay, so I thought that was interesting. I would share that, and we're gonna work backwards again. Let's see. I want to work this backwards. Let's go with. I want to give you guys all of them backwards. 8:15. Okay. About to give you part of her breakdown. So this is the content creator who I said her channel actually got banned. So good thing I'm able to pull this and show it to you. But it got banned, and I'm going to show you part 1 and show you part 2. I will have moments where I break in between if there are certain pieces I need to show you that are out here, but we'll try to basically let you be able to see all of that, all right?
Oh, these little liars. I told y'all that Jax was the ringleader. I told y'all. He's
strategic actor. So it seems like for this particular video, as I told you, it'll be strategic actors, that there will be different information presented on different people, kind of fleshing out some of the stories and things that were being said. This one appears to be focused in on Jax. This is Jax. All right, let's move forward. Also, this is the creator, Nerdy Pink Panda 1. She also has Nerdy Pink Panda 000, and also under the name J Megan. Check her out during any of those handles.
And he was telling stories about shit that he wasn't even there to witness. So let's break down some of the stuff that I heard in this interview. Let's start with Warren's first phone call, because y'all will remember that Warren said that he was over at Ava's house for that 4th of July party when they all started realizing that Nolan was missing, and he called Miss Christine at 11 o'clock.
One of the first things I told Miss Christine Wells in the first phone call that ever occurred with anything to do with Nolan Wells being gone, because I was the first person to call Miss Christine about anything. First phone call, anything to do with Nolan Wells, was me making a phone call to Christine Wells. And one of the first things I said to her, with multiple witnesses here, pull up the phone call if you want. She said, oh, well, Nolan's location is with y'all at, where the house we were at. And I was like, well, no, he left his phone with us. I told her this.
And yesterday, the same time that this interview came out, Christine Wells said this.
360 says that he's on land, and he was like, well, no, I mean, we have his phone.
So both versions of the story say that Warren didn't tell her about the phone until after she confronted him with the 360. Now, Warren tells Miss Christine that he knows somebody in the Coast Guard and that he's going to call them, which is very fucking different than calling the Coast Guard, which absolutely explains why the Coast Guard came out and said at first that they had not received a call from the kids that night. The Coast Guard's initial statement said they weren't informed until 12:30. Then the Coast Guard later changed their story and said, oh wait, actually we did. It seems to me that that first call was most likely an off-the-record to a friend kind of deal, which means these people freaked out and didn't call the Coast Guard until after all these people showed up at Jax's house. Which would explain why in the course of this interview it went from Warren called the Coast Guard to we did. Now when the subject turns to how the family got the phone back from these boys, you'll notice that there was a couple slip-ups.
Warren, you weren't at the house, and so you weren't there when they came to get the phone and all that. So
now remember, Warren just said that he wasn't at the house when the phone was got. And then Morgan talks about getting a phone call from one of the people in Christine Wells' group.
and how did they get the phone back?
So I got a call from a kid we went to high school with. He called me just asking me questions. He saw people posting on Snapchat, like the picture that was circulating.
Except this picture wasn't posted until July 5th. So how could this picture have been circulating on Snapchat that night? But let's
Also, this particular picture that was behind, let me see if we can, let's see.
continue.
And he called.
Oh no. Okay.
Oh, these...
Let me see if it'll let me do it.
Oh, these little liars. I told y'all. Interview. Let's start with Warren's first
Let me
phone
see
call
if it'll
because
let us.
The first things I told Miss Christine, first phone call, anything to do with Nolan Wells.
I'm gonna get you guys back, don't worry.
With y'all at, where the house we were at, and I was like, well, no, he left his phone with us. I told her this.
And yesterday, the same time that this interview came out, Christine Wells said this.
360
Okay.
says that he's on land, and he was like, well, no, I mean, we have his phone.
So both
So mind y'all, they said that they reached out to his mom asking if she had called, or like basically if she, had spoken to him or kind of knew what was up with him. But keep in mind, they have his belongings in his possession. Like, how would he have reached his mom if they quite literally have the phone? So that's kind of odd. Additionally, the picture that she's going to show right after this was the one that they were supposedly the ones that sent that image to her. So that's a little peculiar too, to saying that the friend called because this image was the one that's circulating around. Because if you look at that Instagram post from Christine, Nolan Wells' mom, she said that that's the image they sent her. So yeah. And once again, yes, someone mentioned something about it being an AI picture. You are correct. There's a lot of that going on. That's a whole nother part in this. Listen, you right on it. You are right on top of it.
versions of the story say that Warren didn't tell her about the phone until after she confronted him with the 360. Now, Warren tells Miss Christine that he knows somebody in the Coast Guard and that he's going to call them, which is very fucking different than calling the Coast Guard, which absolutely explains why the Coast Guard came out and said at first that they had not received a call from the kids that night. The Coast Guard's initial statement said they weren't informed until 12:30. Then the Coast Guard later changed their story and said, oh wait, actually we did. It seems to me that that first call was most likely an off-the-record to a friend kind of deal, which means these people freaked out and didn't call the Coast Guard until after all these people showed up at Jax's house. Which would explain why in the course of this interview it went from Warren called the Coast Guard to we did. Now when the subject turns to how the family got the phone back from these boys, you'll notice that there was a couple slip-ups.
Warren, you weren't at the house, and so you weren't there when they came to get the phone and all that. So
now remember, Warren just said that he wasn't at the house when the phone was got. And then Morgan talks about getting a phone call from one of the people in Christine Wells' group.
and how did they get the phone back?
So I got a call from a kid we went to high school with. He called me just asking me questions. He saw people posting on Snapchat.
So that's the other kid that did the interview, just as you guys had the point of reference. He's talking about the other kid. The other person contacted him about something that he saw. And then I want you guys to listen to the language that he used to describe the friend contacting him and interacting with him with regards to, like Nolan's whereabouts. Okay.
Like the picture that was circulating.
Except this picture wasn't posted until July 5th.
Dang it, I missed it again. But if you look, this says Christine. So that's his mother. And she posted this on July 5th. Right? She said that this is what was sent to her. I'll actually just put this up as an image later, too, just so you can see it. so I'm not throwing off the overall timeline you seeing the information.
Well, how could this picture have been circulating on Snapchat that night? But let's continue.
And he called and he was asking questions. He was like, "Where's Nolan? When's the last time y'all seen him?" And then he was like, "So where are y'all at?" And I told him, I said, "We're at Jax's house." And then Warren got on the phone, and I don't know. So they come to my house, right? They kind of
Hold on, before we get there, was it confrontation?
But like, also Warren wasn't there, right? So how Warren get on the phone? How did he get on the phone if he wasn't there? Y'all put him on three-way or something? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think when they had them doing these interviews did what they thought it was going to do. But listen, we want the information, so we'll take that good old receipt. I'm going to let you keep listening. If you want to see the full video, Officer Tatum, he had like 2-3 hours worth of content. But, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Somebody put telepathy or something. It was something, because it certainly, according to their own story, he wasn't there. So how was he able to intercede and get into these calls? I have another side-by-side between how Warren looked from that very first interview he did with Officer Tatum and then this particular interview. Woo, you can see that in 1 month, something is really heavily weighing on him. It could be all that's going on. I imagine this is quite a bit, but that was an interesting comparison, and I will show that to you once we finish their rounds from the second set of interviews with Officer Tatum.
Or was it just trying to find? It was confrontational already.
He was 110%. He was very confrontational.
His friend was 110% confrontational. That's a very interesting way to describe the friend contacting you, asking you about where Nolan is. He said, yes, 110% confrontational. What would have made him confrontational? Why are you describing the friend as confrontational? It's just interesting.
Was this on the night of the 4th?
Yeah, this is before they came and got the phone. So this is the night of the 4th, yes.
You guys are missing a part of the story. How did you get from Ava's house to Jax's house? Because Miss Christine is watching you guys on the Life 360, so suddenly she's seeing the phone leave one location and go to another. Of course I would be upset. And now all of a sudden Warren is there when the phone stuff starts happening? He's listening to the phone call? Now I need y'all to remember that Warren also said that the phone was in his truck on the first conversation.
This is from the report.
Meaning, if we were to believe Warren that he was not there when everybody showed up looking for the phone at some time in between 11 and 1 a.m., so then that would mean after they heard this angry phone call, Warren gets the phone out of his vehicle and puts it in Jack's house and then leaves.
There's probably like 10, 15 people in the house that don't know. And they're all up in our faces, going crazy, asking where no one is, and we don't know. And finally they get into Wyatt's face, and they're like, "Where's your boat? Where's the boat at?" Demanding his address and stuff like that. And he finally ends up giving it to him. We give them.
Why finally does he end up giving it to him? You know, like that. It's just some of the language and posture, right? I know that it's super heavy and that's a lot, you know, to be going through. I'm sure having to like explain everything, but still, it's just the way that they're describing it is just so interesting. And I just kind of wanted to just point out certain pieces as we see them. Kind of notice how they keep kind of checking in with each other and kind of look at the eye contact. You can also, may not know, but there is the attorney with a hat that says Cox on it that's right next to Warren. So periodically you'll notice that they kind of seem like they're making eye contact this way. Because this video is somewhat kind of like cropped a little bit. Which sometimes happen when you go from like a wider, like say like live setup to like a different one where they cut it. I think it goes the difference between like, I won't go through the format setups, but I think it's like 16:10 or like, and then 10:16 or something they flip. So like sometimes it can cut some of the material. You can see like the logo got chopped a little bit. So the attorney would be right here. Just as a point of reference for you guys. Oh, I agree. There's going to definitely be some conversations, I'm sure.
The phone. They have the phone at this point. Then they get the address to his house. Then they go to his house. And they're searching all over his boat, what I heard and stuff like that. Well, anyways, I don't really know much about that, but they come back to my house at around 1 o'clock in the morning. We called law enforcement. I was with Wyatt at the time. After we left Jackson's house at night, I was with Wyatt, and one person we were with saw that their location was actually headed towards Wyatt's house. And so Wyatt got on the phone with 911 and was like, hey, these people are on the way to my house or already at my house. My mom and my dad are there alone, and they know nothing about this. But Wyatt's mom actually, when they were looking at the boat, they were actually walking from the boat, and she came out and started talking to them.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Wyatt, Morgan, and Jax were all together. Warren was gone for some reason at this point. 10 to 15 people just barge into your house. Don't know why your grandparents weren't around. That might explain some things, huh? Guess y'all had the house all to your fucking self that weekend. But then they ask Wyatt for his address so that they can go look at the boat. Wyatt gives them the address. They start heading over there. Wyatt and Morgan get into a car and leave Jax's house. Somebody else that you were with that we aren't hearing about is tracking someone else's phone. I don't know if it was somebody who was with the group that they had access to, or if they were tracking Nolan's phone and they saw it was heading to Wyatt's house. And even though Wyatt gave them the address, and instead of calling his parents, he calls 911 and tells them, my parents don't know anything about what's going on. Can you send police over there? Now, mind you, it was about half an hour after being on the phone with Warren that Christine was able to actually call and report him missing. But she was having to go back and forth and go down to all these different agencies because nobody would fucking help her. And frankly, I want to know why all of this confrontation was left out of the fucking report. Like, if this family had to be removed from 2 different properties by the police, why is there no record of that? And in fact, it wasn't until after these confrontations that MDMR and Ocean Springs Police apparently had their little conversations about who was going to be taking over the case. Because remember, the Jackson County Sheriff Lieutenant told them that deputies had spoken with several friends that had traveled to the island on the vessel with Nolan, and that when they were left, he was in the company of an unknown female. So now, even though Warren had supposedly called the Coast Guard, all these family members are telling the police that the kid is missing. These are the people that last saw them. They're all like, we last saw him on the island. Still, the deputies said that they did not have reason to believe that there was any water-related exigencies or emergencies. Don't worry, y'all. I've got a lot fucking more to say about this stuff. So come back for part 2. I'm going to be immediately recording it. Because Warren fucked up pretty badly in this interview, and I'll show you why.
Well, let's have a little discussion. Then we're going to jump back into part 2. Yes, I was just sharing. Okay, I'm gonna respond to the content, the comments, and people can't hear me talking to them. Okay, so I see some stuff in the comments, so let's go ahead and acknowledge what's in the comments. Milo and Nyla, you were stating that Nolan was an all-American, smart, athletic, young, kind, young man, and the ladies loved him. That was the problem. I could believe that, right? Justice for Nolan Wells. Lady Sachs said. And let's see, I'm going back up. Body language speaks. Yes, it do. What? You listen. Y'all gonna really see it in some of these other videos. It's really there. You can really see some things happening. People act like, but listen. I agree. Well said. Justice for Nolan Wells. May all truth be revealed. Yeah, may it be revealed, because his family deserves to know what happened. I'll never forget watching a clip that she put out saying that, you know, she's supposed to be getting updates from her son as he's, you know, kind of getting oriented on campus. She's not getting that. Instead of her having to, you know, and this is my interpretation, instead of her having to orientate her child and do that travel up to, you know, take them off to school and drop them off and wait to get all the announcements and all that, which I'm sure, you know, as a parent, she was also looking forward to. She had to bury her son. And people are doing such rude and inflammatory things in regards to the memory of her child while the ground is still soft. Because the ground is often pretty moist and soft. It hasn't hardened yet. And people are saying inflammatory and doing inflammatory things. Even in my comments. And I'm just a relatively small, creator. My little, channel. But listen, our community is mighty. What? Hello? We are here. We in here. But, I can only imagine the things that have been said and the way that mother was treated. And continues to be. Like I said, y'all, they reported that woman's license and her medical license, her ability to work and procure money and access so that she can have people be able to fight for her child to get answers. What happened? So, yes, may the truth be revealed. Somebody's going to tell what happened just while, oh, yeah, listen, we're going to keep watching. Listen, we already got a video saying he's showing he messing up a little bit, right? Here's the interesting thing. Okay, let's get into that part. I've been noticing a little pattern, right? It appears, as I'm observing, that the second interview is really where they contradict the first one. I don't know if that frequency maintains across like multiple interviews. We don't have that much information yet, but woo! With the other friend they referenced that they said called and it gave them a little toot. Of course, you know what I mean? Like, why are y'all playing hot potato with the phone and doing weird stuff? But at this point, just based off the way of the current presentation, we don't know all the facts, right? This is based off what information we have gotten access to, but show sound, peculiar. But yeah, this person who identifies themselves as a friend, action so far lined up with that based off their report. The person said, what's going on? Give us some information, right? That person too, I'm gonna be honest, like the first interview they did doesn't sound exactly like the second interview that they did when they had their mama there and Nolan's mom's there. When they did the interview. The one they did with TMZ, a little different than the other one. Warren's first interview with Officer Tatum, very different than this interview. And then this interview has part 1 and 2, because the Officer Tatum interview was like 2 hours long. I know y'all wasn't going to sit for all that. So listen, we had to chop it up. I figured she would like the analyst version better, where we had it condensed instead of me trying to just chop it up myself. So hopefully y'all like this format. Hopefully y'all like that. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments if you don't. But also let me know if you do. Listen, I like engagement. Okay. Let me finish going back up this way, and I'm going to come back to the bottom. I see some movements below. And someone put justice for that child. Because I'm not reading the rest of that bottom portion. I said, once again, we will maintain a very respectful community. Because once again, we don't know if the family at any point in time gets placed in, alive. So we want to make sure that this is a safe space, at least one safe space that they can go to if they're going to hear anything, right? If they so happen to skim past, doom, scoom, whatever, that this is a safe space, okay? So any inflammatory things, I'd like you not to leave that. The next comment, the lawyer said they have to keep their story straight. Okay. Someone said Morgan looked like he's about to cry, Hey. Once again, when it comes to the body language, it says a lot, right? It says it's all coming out. It's all coming out. All right, so I think I caught us up to where we last had the comments. I'm going to go back down. Okay. Okay, and first off, thank you guys for being in the chats. I barely can keep up with these. Wait a minute. You guys are awesome. Okay, let's see. So the All-American. Let's see. It said the baby's birthday is Wednesday. Okay. I don't know if I had the correct date. I think I had the 19th. Okay, so we on the same accord there. I just thought it was the 19th. You're saying it's the Wednesday. That's correct. Wednesday is the 19th. So for all of those out there, you know, just commemorate his birthday's back. We want justice. And that young man would have had a birthday, and he was cut short of having a birthday. He was cut short of being able to be on campus with his friends and colleagues. He was cut short of being able to have a lot of experiences. They said the day before, or better yet, the day after, rather, he was scheduled for a scholarship interview relevant to what him being on campus. Robbed of all of that. He was robbed of that because he's no longer here with us. And the family has to mourn that. I'm just going to say hello to you all. I see some people saying hi in the chat. Hello, hello. Yeah, someone put in the chat. Lady Sack said, yeah, and you can see they are all uneasy, looking around. They said the FBI should be reading into that. Yeah, I would agree. So, and the other thing that I found interesting when you look at where this event occurred, my understanding that was like a governmental building or a governmental property of some sort. So it seemed like even that alone would push for there to be a higher authority starting to get involved in some of these things. So when you start to have certain conversations about potentially race being involved, right, because there's been lots of discussion about that, also you would have a higher authority to be involved because there's certain doctrines that would come into place. So I'm just confused about, one, the handling of the case, which is another reason for a higher authority to be becoming involved, or to become involved, right? It's just like so many areas and opportunities where it seems like there should be some higher levels of involvement. It just makes you say, you know what I'm saying? Just makes you say, So let me keep reading. Yeah, someone said Warren forgot what he said. Yeah. The truth don't need to remember, right? You know, but when sometimes things can get difficult when you're trying to, frame up things a certain kind of way or shape it up a certain kind of way, right? I'm not going to say somebody's not telling the truth or sitting in opposition of the truth. What I will say is if someone's trying to shape the information a certain way, they're trying to make it look a certain type of way, you have to work harder for that. And you're going to sometimes forget the details. That's all I'm saying. Somebody said, Miss Jerry said, let them keep talking. I hope they go back on some more shows. And then also said Warren's about to crack and tell it all. Their privilege, let's see. They said their demeanor, right? Some of their privileged demeanor. They said some of that's become a little bit more present. Okay. This one sounds like maybe Andrew saying potentially peaceful rally or protest. Maybe that could be a consideration, that the men's march, right? That's typically, something that will be happening around this time of year. That'd be something maybe they could posture. There's quite a few events, right? Not just this one, but there are lots of things that can be consolidated and I think could bring a lot of attention to different events that are happening in present day. That might be a good way to commemorate some historical thing while also bringing attention to a current event. That certainly I think could be something, especially because people are already in that habit of having that movement, right? When I say movement, that particular set. Let's see. So Alfreda said, yes, that you're right. The second interview was different. All right. I just want to make sure that I did acknowledge. And someone says you can't kind of trust the locals. And with that being said, there's certain relationships, I think, that makes it difficult for certain movements to happen. I got a video for that. Y'all ready for it? Are y'all ready for it? Okay. Hopefully I got y'all ready to be all in these receipts. Be in these receipts with me. Before I jump to the connections with the locals, I want us to finish up the second part because we want to see what happened with Warren and what happened with that portion of the interview. So we're going to jump right back in. This one's a little bit shorter than the last one. And trust me, Most of the videos are actually shorter than that. I only have a couple that are like between 6 and 9 minutes. Otherwise, most of them gonna be like 1 minute. So don't worry, y'all. Don't worry. Okay, so part 2 going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Where we left off, Warren had already called Miss Christine, and then they somehow ended up at Jax's grandparents' house. That's where they all stayed that weekend, and so that's why Nolan's keys were over there. They had to have been at the grandparents' house, who mysteriously never showed up during any of these confrontations. Somehow the phone had gone from the party that they were all at to Jax's place, and then Warren left after a phone call to Morgan. According to them, 10 to 15 people showed up and just walked into Jax's house and demanded the phone. Wyatt gave the address in which the boat was at. They all start migrating over there. Then Morgan and Wyatt and another friend are tracking their 360s and seeing that they're going over to Wyatt's house. Then they call 911 to tell them that the police are on the way to his house. Then they're searching the boat, and then they come back to Jax's house around 1 o'clock in the morning, according to him. Mind you, that's when they explain to the police about their friend being missing. And so then the report says at 1:38 in the morning, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office say that they spoke to several of the friends that were on the vessel with Nolan, saying that he was in the company of an unknown female. But Morgan, Jax, and Warren all claimed that they did not travel to the island on the same boat as Nolan. So who did they talk to? Because it sounds to me like they had told the police that they were on the same boat as him. Keeping in mind that this is what Warren told Miss Christine.
Named Katie. And so then it turned into, Katie is also missing. No one can find her. And the explanation of no one knows this Katie, like we've never met her.
And Tristan said this.
I was talking with my other buddy's phone, talking to Warren. He was dialing Coast Guard because he hung up the phone and was like, hey, this is El Bot, and hung up the phone. And that was the last time I talked to him.
Mind you, Tristan is friends with Katie. They are mutuals. I have confirmed this. So now that we've got that timeline fucking straight, let's back up to something that Warren said during this interview.
If you're motivated enough to do it, yeah. Like, I made a phone call to my mom, and I had to call her like 8 times before she picked up because either her service was bad, because she was on the back side of the aisle, on the south side, or my service was bad, and it was just hard to get through.
Do y'all see that? Let me play it again slower for you.
Either her service was bad because she was on the back side of the aisle, on the south side.
Look at that.
Or my service was bad, and it was just hard to get through.
Oh no. Not only did Warren confirm that his mom was on the south side of the island, but Warren himself said that if you're motivated enough, you can call somebody. I tried calling my mom 8 times. Yet this is what he said last time.
A little off the island, you have cell coverage, and even on the island, like I called my mom when we were on the island, it was fine.
So which is it? Did you call your mom with ease, or did you try to call her 8 times because you were motivated to get in touch with her? But Warren wasn't the only one to slip up, because listen.
And he's on the phone with Cito, and he's trying to get them on the phone. And as he stated in the moment, he's like, Cito's just asking all these dumb questions. I can't figure out what's going on. And so finally he hangs up, and after the trim to the motor started to work again. So they manually trim it down by the buttons on the motor, trimmed it down, and some electronics started to come back on. And they got the boat to crank over, and they're like, all right, untie us.
So first off, Jax just proved that the boys put the phone on mute during the call with Cito. Because I've listened to the entire 8-minute call, and at no point did they ever say anything about them asking all these stupid questions. Then he said after they hung up on the Cito, that's when it started working again, and they said, okay, untie us, implying that it had been tied up to the other boat the entire time. But we see in this video that they are hauling the line back in right here as he's on the phone. See, you can see right here where the line is being pulled in from across the way where the boat is stationed. Meaning he had already hung up with Cito at that point, and he had to have been on the phone with someone else.
And don't forget when they was talking to Cito, remember they said that the boat was sinking. Look, FY, remember they said that they told them the boat was sinking. Oh, okay, yeah.
What we see here is, once again, we have an interview where they go into so much detail about
body language completely changed.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and first off explain a boat.
We fucking get how a bilge pump works. We get it by now. Stop fucking talking about the bilge pump. What we actually want to hear about is the multiple stops that were made before ending up back at the grandparents' house before they even took the boat to the boat dock. We want you guys to explain how the sea tow was canceled by the grandfather on the captain's private line before you guys had even hung up with sea tow. That's why nobody believes a fucking word that you are saying. Because I showed y'all yesterday how AI had clearly doctored these photos. If you missed it, look, silver pole. Look, no silver pole. It's actually white. And if you look at this picture in the grandparents' driveway of the Triton, you will see that the little handrails are not leaning over. You will see that the rails are going straight up and down and not leaning, which is why I also suspect that the identity of whoever this is was intentionally covered up. Because first off,
you have more on this lady.
This weird swimsuit thing. This is somebody who, if they were with them, would have stood out in a crowd. But this woman who's in a red striped swimsuit with a white baseball cap shows up in a lot of different pictures, just oh so obscured. Here she is again, handing out beers on Bart's boat.
Honestly, it gives an adult, like millennial vibe, bathing suits.
On the Triton, and they used AI to change her clothing and to obscure her identity. Because I think this was either Warren's mother or Wyatt's stepmother, which would explain the older female voice people said they've heard on the sea tow. Because otherwise, why would he need to call his mother 8 times?
Also, on the original clip, you can hear someone say, "I'm talking." And I'm just going to say that absolutely sounds like something an elder would say when you're talking to a younger group of people. That's like something you say when you have authority in a room, and a peer generally does say, "Hey, I'm talking." Not to say that they couldn't say it. It's just not as normative. You know, it wouldn't be as normative for a younger person, let's say between like 18, maybe 20, to be talking to some guys that are around 18, 21 and say, "Hey, I'm talking," like abruptly. Like, if there was a little bit more authority in that tone, right? We don't know anything definitively, but that, right? Also, passing out beers, right? Who more than likely is passing out the beers? Probably the person who got them. Who can get them? The person who probably legally can get them, right? Don't want to make too many assumptions there, but just also as we listen to that information, we looked at that bathing suit, the way that those stripes were kind of set up. That reminds me of a style that kind of was like late, like say 2010 style bathing suits and clothing. Like that's kind of like very much the vibe. I've had some clothes that were similar in style to that. So we will have a video that I will show you a little bit more about the person that was referenced with the red and white striped bathing suit. We'll actually cover a couple of strategic actors, we'll call them, right? But yeah, just want to make sure that I brought that up while we see them here. And then I'm going to go look at the comments and see if there's any engagement happening. I see movement, but I can't read it as I'm holding the screen to the other screen. Okay, so I will be engaging with those. So if you have anything, definitely put it in the chat. Thanks for being on the live.
Unless, according to his own words,
If you're motivated enough to do it, yeah.
because remember, there is a 4th boat out there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Holy fuck, I just accidentally stumbled onto something that literally is concrete proof. Oh my god, next video coming. Oh my god!
4 boats. I also have a video that does a walkthrough of what the what's it called, the Triton boat looks like, because there's some certain compartments I think that would be of interest for us to look at. Because I told y'all we was getting into these receipts. Okay, so I see that there are some comments. Let me go look. I tried to put my computer up so I can see some of these a little bit better. Let's see, where was the last one I remember us talking about? I see blue hearts. I see lots of hearts. Thank you all for the hearts in the chat. I'm just trying to find where we last left off. Okay, so Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where y'all left me off. I'm so glad you guys are putting stuff in the comments. I'm trying to see them all. If I miss anybody, I do apologize. But put whatever you put back in the chat so that I can see it. I'm going to try to go up and scroll up as much as I can to figure out where the last set of comments were. I'm kind of going from memory here. Okay, so I see something that doesn't look like something I read aloud. So the second interview was definitely different. That's why they know that. Okay, someone put, so Milo and Nyla, my apologies, stated that that's why we know he wasn't high, right? So because what, he'd be subjected to drug tests. They're talking about being an athlete. Yes, good point, right? So when Lady Sachs said exactly, athletes know they're going to be drug tested. He wasn't high. Yes, it's an FBI land, and they are asked with the Department of Justice to be involved. Okay, yes. Also, can't trust the local. Let's see, said that. Okay, so it appears I missed somebody's message. Let's see if we can scroll up a little bit and see if I can find when people feel like I'm not showing no love. Let me see. I don't see where it was put. Okay, so Andrew, I see where you're saying I missed your message, but I don't see anything outside of high unless I'm scrolling too fast. Oh, okay, I saw they need to get to 50 people and let you kind of make some movements. I think I mentioned that before, potentially doing like a walk or peaceful walk or what have you. Bring some attention to what's going on. I thought I did mention that. If not, my apologies there. Okay. Yeah, I think they did, in fact, want us, Andrew, again, I think they did want us to believe what they were saying, but that's not, based off of how they're presenting things, I just don't feel like the interviews are really having the effect that they wanted to have. It's just not giving what I think they thought it was going to give, to be honest. Let's see. Let me see if I can go back down. It says, someone said, we don't believe any of the foolishness. Let's see. So Stephanie put, and when she asked the question, how many alive is on the boat, and he said 7 or. Might have to go look back into that. Yeah, 7 or is sure enough an interesting answer, right? What's the or? That's not even. If someone ever asks, I don't think I ever really, or. That makes it gives the question somewhat debatable. I don't. That's interesting. Interesting posture, right? Let's see. Milo and Nyla, I think it was Warren's mother, the judge. Now, once again, with your mama, the judge, potentially, possibly working with people in that area that will be dealing with the case, right? And then you have some type of contact with the case on top of potentially some other things, right? Like, I guess I'm interested in how they're going to be handling her with regards to that. Of course, most people just recuse themselves, but just even thinking about like levels of contact, points of contact, history, exposure, relationships, because we were talking about relationships and stuff today. Yeah, so very interesting. Okay, we have, and Warren's deceased grandparent had $1 million home out there. Okay. And listen, and thank you for Milo and Nyla dropping all these gems of information in the chat. Okay, so lovely Juan. Okay, Juanita. Life jackets, that's where he is. Okay, listen, I got the boats, okay? I got the boat information. We gonna dive into that part. You with me, okay? So stick with on the live. Stay on the live, okay? Because we have a boat walkthrough. Somebody else who had a similar boat did a walkthrough, and that was something I was thinking. I was like, because they said somewhere in this interview, they're like, well, you know, we would have been geniuses to be able to do that. Look, that's a peculiar way to describe something for one, right? What you mean we would have had to be geniuses? The other thing that the attorney said in another interview, as a matter of fact, when he was on Nancy Grace, him and the other attorney, they were like, well, everyone was there. Nobody could have done anything because everyone was outside. Somebody would have seen it. So when we talk about that particular area on the boat that you're talking about, let's say, I'll just call it like a little pocket space until we physically get it up there. This storage, these two storage areas, you can put quite a bit in there when we see in relationship to an actual human person walking, showing you around. You see that. I think that gives us a little bit more perspective. Just saying measurements, sometimes we don't have that in mind. Like, how big is that? How far is it? Let's see it, right? Let's see it. So that life jacket area, because that would be one piece. Someone put, Milo and Nyla, Bart was passing the beers out to minors. Is that a charge? Well, I was watching an interview earlier, and a retired judge from Mississippi said they're gonna go for some low-hanging fruit, and that would be one of them. There were minors being passed out liquor. You know, well, they're gonna go for low-hanging fruit. I guess go for low-hanging fruit. Sometimes that low-hanging fruit will help them be able to pinch some people up a little bit to get some of the other things, the higher ticket items that they're going for, right? Yeah, I would say that's pretty concerning if you're saying that someone's passing out beers to someone who's not technically permitted by law to have them, and you reasonably know that it's against the law, you know. Let's see. Okay, and then someone put Milo. Okay, so Milo again said those boats have removable floors for fish. They certainly do. And the one picture they showed with those fish were huge. When I saw the amount that it appeared that could be held, that's way bigger than a human body and weight. The amount of fish I've seen them have on that little it looked like a wire of some sort, right? And I found it was really odd, that one image they had all those fish just sitting on top. Now, I wasn't much of a fisher. I had a few relatives took me out a couple times in youth, but when we did, you put it right on the ice and you kind of had it tucked off somewhere. You didn't have it just sitting open like that. I never just seen it just sitting open. Granted, I just might not be very versed in that, might not be very exposed, but I thought it was really odd that some of the pictures we saw, there was a whole bunch of fish just laying right there, and it wasn't in anything, it wasn't wrapped in any type of way. Usually seems like they, so that made me interested. I said I was going to try to go look for the individual picture, so I'm going to spend a little time looking for that, but that threw me off. Like, just to have a big old ridiculous pile of huge fish just sitting out. It seemed like they had them stored somewhere and pulled them out of a storage for some reason, or like whatever safe place you would put them, because in theory, if you put it closer down, it'd be cooler down there. You know what I mean? Once that's developed a little bit more, I'll push that back out. But let's see. I like to stick with things that I got some type of receipt for, but that sure enough was my fault. Let me go through the rest of y'all comments. The next thing I'll show y'all, just because we're on this topic, I'll show y'all the boat next. I'm moving out of sequence, but since we talking, because y'all my people, we gonna show that boat next. Let's go to this next piece of this comment. Okay, so I read all that. Okay, good. Let's see. Okay. So lovely Juanita said, I think that's what the video you were showing, and she said she's discovered something. I think that his body is under the life jacket. Okay. All right. Andrew said Andre said that he believes everyone was in on it and said that part. And then Milo said He said it was 2,000 people, sir, and it was about 300. Those attorneys are out of touch. Well, okay, sound like y'all sounding off in the chat, right? It couldn't just be me that was looking a little like, what is happening here? So that's why I said, let's develop the baseline. Let me share what I have been finding. So when I start trying to line some of this stuff up, the doctrines and things I'm supposed to be studying, I'm like, okay, we can have the same baseline and some of the same foundational pieces that we're pulling from. So following that legally everywhere framework, we wanted to kind of talk about these strategic actors, some of their roles. But listen, as promised, let me go ahead and show y'all this this boat. Let me get into this boat. Okay, so this is a Triton boat layout. This is about 30 seconds. Y'all ready? Inspector Gadget. Okay, y'all see this? Look mighty deep. Was that too quick or y'all need to see it again? Okay. See a little bit more comments in the chat. Were you guys able to see that? Or was that too quick? I'll do it one more time just so y'all can see it again. This is the bullet. Look at that. And this was by Rhizomic Music. Okay. You said show us the picture of all the fish. I think that I don't know that I have. I think the closest I could get is the video I just showed you. I have to really dig. I'm trying to find the one that specifically had Nolan on it. This isn't, he's not imaged on this one. But if you just want to see the fish, let me know. We can come back to this. Okay, we seen that. So we were talking about who is the mom. So we're going to jump here. Okay? Yeah. I agree with that, Andre. That's what I was saying before. I'm like, I've been fishing a few times in my life, right? I wouldn't say, I'm just super skillful or knowledgeable in that area. But I've never seen it just laid at the top. Now, for what you're saying, maybe I can slow this down and we could try to stop it. Okay. You see that? Just sitting. But also, it's on one of those cords, but it's just sitting like that. Now, I'm trying to find the one. I could have swore I saw one with Nolan, but I'm not 100%, and I want to locate that before I say anything. Y'all know I'm really big on making sure I have the receipt, and I don't just speak out of context. But just this, that kind of threw me. That kind of threw me. Okay, so you suspect that okay. You suspect that there, could be someone up underneath that fish, those fish. And look how big those fish are. Like, look at the size of those fish in comparison to their feet. Dude in the blue, with the blue shirt and the blue pants, he looks like a taller man. He looks like a taller man, which would kind of indicate more than likely to support having a bigger, taller frame, you would have to have bigger feet. So if he has bigger feet next to those fish, those are big fish, because those fish are way bigger than his feet. Y'all see what I'm talking about? Those are some big fish. Okay, can you show the clip, the last clip with all the life jackets on the boat, please? And thank you. You want me to show you this this boat again? Is that this one that you're talking about? I can go ahead and press play. You ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is the spot. And that's kind of where they were right there. And you see this here. So definitely thank that creator for making that accessible, because I hadn't seen the inside of that boat before. So yeah. So we certainly can go look back through some more of her videos. I told y'all I got them. And we're gonna do what we can there. Let's see. Someone says they're new here. Yes, welcome. Thank you so much for being part of the community. You said the one with the girls. Okay, so she is actually next. You talking about the one in the red and white bathing suit? That's our next video. Yeah, very peculiar. Alfreda said, yes, it's very peculiar. Looking how the pile of the fish is laying. Yeah, it's a weird way to lay them, right? You don't see no ice out there. You don't see no plastic. You just want the fish just laying. I just have never in all my life seen anyone display fish that way ever in life. No ice, no plastic, no igloo box, no, ice pack, like nothing. Just laying them, just lay them out there. I don't know, like that's just odd. It's just odd. Okay, so someone said the fish may be AI, but the floor of the boat isn't. All right now. Hey. And then I saw up before that part. Let's go to the next video. Okay, so whose mama is this? We somewhat working out a sequence, but I'm following the course of the conversation. I did have original schedule, but we still within the topic area. So listen, we in this thing together. Okay.
That the identity of whoever this is was intentionally covered up, because first off, who wears this weird swimsuit thing? This is somebody who, if they were with them, would have stood out in a crowd. But this woman who's in a red striped swimsuit with a white baseball cap shows up in a lot of different pictures, just oh so obscured. Here she is again, handing out beers on Bart's boat. So I personally suspect that whoever that was in fact on the Triton, and they used AI to change her clothing and to obscure her identity. Because
I got some longer videos, but let's see. Yeah, I hear big facts. Let's see. That's another one. Go back to that. Let me see if I can get something about the boats. Okay, let's look at this one. This is a different content creator, though.
That looks pretty long.
Look at that.
Tritons were built to hold massive amount of fish. As you can see in this picture of the Triton, that's his leg compared to the door, y'all. Just in this area alone, that is deep enough and long enough to place the body.
Wouldn't you think that you would have seen no one on the bottom of the floor or something?
Look at their fucking body language.
Or scrambling around, or everybody in a small space on the boat looking at him.
Morgan tenses up and starts shaking his leg, and you can see his face, and he immediately looks over.
Like, what do you think that you would see no one on the bottom of the floor or something? or scrambling around, or everybody pop like in a small space on the boat looking out.
Warren is staring. Warren, you breathing pretty hard there, Bob.
Wouldn't you think that you would see Nolan on the bottom of the floor or something?
Look at Warren's breath and he's hyperventilate. Look,
In my
or
last video,
perceived
I
to
show
be.
you that there's 2 doors up under here. As you can see up under Wyatt's brother.
Specifically, some up to 6.5 feet long. Nolan Wells was 6'1".
I find it fucking creepy that you would say something like that, Jax. I mean, you said it.
Another photo of the chart. I did notice the sticker's different. This one is green, but it could be changed every so often. Oh yeah, look at this. Wyatt's brother Ike has a fishing account. He named it the Fish Killing Machine. But better yet, he states that I have a lot of connections on the Gulf Coast from Alabama to Louisiana. So I guess that allegedly makes sense as to why Wyatt would call Cito, because y'all are brothers, and brothers always share connections. Allegedly, brother.
Okay, I can't read that particular name because of quite a few curse words, but I'm gonna leave it there for y'all to connect if you want to follow more of their content, right? So that was a little bit more context about that boat, that storage area, how much space can be held in there, and some other developing ideas, right? But y'all don't say I said it all. I'm definitely saying some things right, but I don't say I said it all. I'm finding the receipts out there, right? And showing y'all what I can find, y'all. We're not coming to conclusions, but we certainly collecting receipts. Oh, we're going to collect them receipts. Give us some more information about that boat. And just want to pull my most recent ones. Okay, let's do the most recent walkthrough. Y'all ready? Hi, I see we have a few new people. Welcome to the chat. Then we're going to kind of jump back into some other strategic pieces. Y'all ready? All right.
All right, after this, I'm probably going to take a couple days off because my brain needs a
This is
rest
her last
after
video,
last
by the
couple of
way.
days. Now we know for sure that there was storage in the bow of the boat. All right, so now
There.
at this point, I am pretty sure that the Triton was there all day. They didn't switch out the boats. And I'm also pretty certain at this point that this is a real video because there's one single frame where you can see Bart's boat and you can also see the toes of somebody like dangling them off the water. So if the picture or video were AI, it would be a really bizarre thing for it to just kind of throw in. But there's zero question in my mind that this video has been altered. So then the question becomes, why would they alter this video? And the only thing that logically makes sense to me is to alter the identity of the 2 girls. Because if Carter is the boy in red, Wyatt is the boy in the American shorts, Bart's brother Brooke being the one in the navy blue shorts, and then Ike being the one in the teal shorts. Then we've got Warren up here with somebody in this red striped swimsuit and the girl in the teal swimsuit with the backwards hat. So in this picture, this would be Brooks, this would be Ike, this would be Wyatt, this would be Warren, which would leave this to be Carter. Now, whoever this is seems to be very cuddly with Carter. Like, too cuddly, in my opinion, for it to be like a mother or a family member. Thinking about it a lot from the timeline that we have been told. And what we haven't really been factoring in again is the party. Because remember, Warren said he went to the party, but instead of talking with all of his friends, he went upstairs to go talk with his girlfriend's dad. Now, those families are tight. So if that dad of Ava, if that conversation with the dad didn't happen, then they would automatically know that they were lying. So I've been saying for a while that the girl was somehow involved. And mind you, everybody's back on land now. They're getting ready to do the fireworks, and everybody's swimming and drinking still, blah, blah, blah. So what's the excuse for no pictures at that party? They've explained it all the way during the day, but at this point, they're all just being teenagers and having fun again, right? So I'm thinking that the brunette girl is Ava, the girl whose house they went to. And she's pretty close with Warren and the Pyrone family.
And they're full speed running. And then after that, I didn't see them anymore. I think you were on the boat.
Pyrone.
Yeah, so
Last name
after
Pyrone
we
Warren.
played off, Wyatt kept the boat pinned the whole way in. We ran to the mouth of Fort Bayou, where we
That's
came
the
from
route
originally.
that they took.
And we turned into Fort Bayou, went in the channel, ran probably 500, 600 yards to Fort Bayou. Wyatt had jumped out of the boat, put the plug back in the boat so access water. So water didn't keep pushing and filling back the boat.
According to their own words, they went into the mouth and then they turned and they went about 500-600 feet. Now, mind you, The party house is right around, but they go past it and then loop back around. However, Warren just admitted that at some point they had to stop and Wyatt jumped in. Even then, you heard him stuttering over the story. Like, it wasn't a smooth transition. Because I think they dropped her off. Could explain why they would go back to this party, because obviously they can't cancel the party. That looks really suspicious. Then, my theory has always been that the guys all, like, broke off and, like, talked to the parents about what was going on. And that's when they formulated their whole, we'll call her and then we'll call the Coast Guard plan. Remember, she is related. Somehow I can't figure out, but she is related through marriage to the lieutenant that wrote up the very initial report we've seen. Because remember how
we
Morgan
have this
claimed
report,
that
remember?
the picture of the boat stuff was circulating around Snapchat and stuff, even though Christine didn't post it to her Facebook page until the next day. Listen to this.
His mom was, what was he wearing? And so we were trying to remember what color his shorts were. We couldn't quite figure that out.
I said black.
Yeah, I think we said
Because
black.
I really did. He was wearing navy blue shorts.
Yeah, it was like dark blue shorts.
Dark. I said black because I was trying to piece everything together and help out.
And so at this point, we're freaking out. We don't know where our friend's at. And the girl that took the picture, she was like, okay, well, I just took this picture of today. This is what color swim trunks he was wearing. And his mom asked for that to post on Facebook to say, if you've seen him, whatever, this is what he was wearing.
So remember, the girl who took the picture with the digital camera was...
Remember before they said that there was a picture that was circulating around, and notice how they just said that they the ones that sent the picture because the girl took the picture. You see what I'm saying about some of the inconsistencies? Okay, I'm gonna let her get back to this part. Just so y'all see what I'm talking about.
On Wyatt's boat at the beginning of the day, and then was there with them at night when they were having this discussion. So she had to have been there at the beginning and at the party at the very least. Then we remembered that the original shorts picture, well, that wasn't the color of his shorts, as we now know. So we also know for a fact that this picture did not get sent to Christine until July 5th, meaning that they had to have had that picture and then not sent it to her for hours. Because they also said this.
And so that's what we sent to her, or that's what she sent to her, because we're just trying.
So they corrected themselves. He said, we sent it. No, she sent it.
We were provided with incorrect information regarding what he was wearing. I was sent this picture as, you can see he was in blue swim shorts, not black, yesterday. July 5th, Christine. That is his mother. Okay? She's an NP. But that is his mother. That's Nolan's mother. Just so we could point that out. Hopefully that y'all can see that.
So on July 5th, Christine said that they have been up for almost 48 hours straight, and then the very next post above it are the same pictures but better quality. Why did it take so long to get these pictures to them? Oh, and y'all, now that I said that, I realized, so all of these pictures had to come from the same digital camera, right? Meaning this picture did as well. And since I've already proven that this picture had used AI to do something weird because, you know, there was no little bar here, only explanation for using AI on just this little part would be to obscure the reflection that was in this pole of the person who was taking the video. Or the pictures. Oh my God, yes. That makes sense. Love it when I figure that stuff out in real time for you on camera. So it makes sense to me that this photo video thing was altered to cover up this girl's swimsuit. Because let's face it, this swimsuit is the ugliest thing. It has like supposedly like sleeves and it's a tankini, but it goes like in a weird cut, but it's ugly. It's ugly, and it's clearly not what these debutante beauty queen girls are wearing to a 4th of July beach party. So
it's more than likely probably like a bathing suit cover up. You know what I'm saying? But she definitely roasting her right there.
I'm like 70% sure that this is Ava. Oh, wait. Oh, my God. Wait a second. Shown y'all guys before that there's 4 boats out here, this little cluster, right? But I'm looking at these weird pink lumps and stuff at the front of the boat, Bart's boat here. Is that a pile of life vests? Because I'm realizing they're...
So right in this area, they said, no, she's saying a pile of life vests. I don't know how close I can get without it skewing the image, but right in here. Okay.
It's not 20, 30 people on all of these boats. Like, I'm seeing 10, 12 people here tops. let's not forget what a full house looks like on these boats. Because even in this video at the meetup place, there's not 20, 30 people getting ready to get on these boats. I mean, the boat left at 9:56, according to the GPS. We got like 7, 8 people here, like 6 people here. And also, if they were legitimately needing to be towed and they were trying to get the water to run off, why are they all spread out on the boat? Why are they on the boat in general? Why didn't they just get off on land or get on another boat? Trying to get the boat to tip up and go planing, why do you have over half the boat on the front of the boat? These are
fair question. Like, if you feel like the boat is sinking, as they called the place and said, why would you have that much weight by having that many people sitting on the boat? Questions that need answers. You know what I'm saying? Questions that need answers.
Experienced fucking fishermen. They know better than that. Yeah, I can't believe I've never thought of that before. If the boat was sinking, why are they even on the fucking boat? Yeah, and if it was so common and so easy to get, rides back with other people, strangers on Horn Island, why did they need to load everybody on the boat? Or were they yelling at Nolan to get on the boat? They didn't need to get him on the boat. And now that I'm looking at this, doesn't it look like Warren is on the phone? Could this have been when he was calling his mom 8 times? Also, one more thing that stuck out to me.
We called law enforcement. I was with Wyatt at the time after we left Jackson's house that night. I was with Wyatt, and one person we were with saw that their location was headed towards Wyatt's house. And so Wyatt got on the phone with 911 and was like, hey, these people are on the way to my house or already at my house. My mom and my dad are there alone, and they know nothing about this.
Now, he stumbled over his words from beginning to end in that story, so I don't believe any of it. But the one thing that sticks out to me was the phrasing, they don't know anything about this. If people are heading over to your house, why wouldn't you call your mom and dad before you called 911? Because it sounded like he was trying to keep his parents out of the loop of this story, which as a teenage boy implies that you have something to hide. Just a lot of different things to think about, right?
Well, it's getting interesting, isn't it? These some good receipts, right? I said y'all had me by the edges looking for half of this stuff, because I wanted to get something that had substance. I wanted to be able to pull something that had some receipts, some things that are verifiable, and I found that Nerdy Pink Panda 000 or J Megan. I think the third account is Nerdy Pink Panda 1. All of those 3 kind of interconnected. She has multiple accounts. Like I said, I guess now it's technically the next day, but yesterday they did ban her 1 account. Hopefully she's able to get it back, but so she was getting to, them receipts. Sounds like hit dog holler. I don't know why they wanted to ban her account, but it gets very interesting, right? You see what I'm saying about how we listen to the story and listen for some of the inconsistencies, because there's certainly a lot of inconsistencies that are popping up. Certainly a lot of inconsistencies. I'm gonna go to the computer and see if I see any comments. Okay, I can look on the screen. The light vest could be the cover. That's interesting. So Milo and Nyla. And then lovely Juanita also said yes, under the vest. Also says look at Morgan. And then Wyatt put the plug back in and not Bart. Eyes. Interesting. And then Andre said, I said it. And then Milo also said, I think that's Warren's mom on the boat. I guess you also agree about the appearance of this swimsuit. Well, I'm thinking it might be a swimsuit cover-up. They start talking about stuff off the shoulders. I don't really remember bathing suits having stuff off the shoulders. I'm thinking like a cover-up. Nice little cover-up. Especially if you're one of the adults, right? You don't want to be around everybody's children with all your blessings hanging out, your goodies, however you want to phrase it, right? You don't want to have all your goodies hanging out, so you might want to cover that up, But that, to me, that would make more sense, because people are younger, they want to show it off a little bit. When they're a little bit older, they won't cover it up. And then you also said that's why they said no body over 21. Okay. But see, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking that's like a body cover up, because I got a few cover ups I put when I go outside, and especially if I supervise with younger people. They don't never see me in my regular bathing suit. I'm sitting there with a couple little layers on, right? You got your cover up, might have your towel with you. The younger they are, the more layers we got on, right? So I would imagine if that's someone's actual mom, they probably don't want their mom out there looking like, you know, she's a swimsuit model, you know. So that makes sense. That makes sense to me, actually. But then the question is, if you an adult on the boat, we need you to come forward. We need that story. And my other question was, you just can't convince me there's not a captain that's officially on the boat, right? Somebody had to designate themselves to be the one steering the boat. I would sincerely hope you're not outside of saying that all these minors are drinking, that you're telling me that y'all were drinking and driving the boat around intoxicated. That's a whole nother situation. So I would like to be of the belief that you had someone designated to drive. So if they are of sober mind and able to give us an accurate account, where is that account? Who was steering the boats? We have 4 boats that are in movement. And I don't hear that we have that many people. I hear about beers being passed around. Who's steering the boats? Because it's 4 of them. That means we need 4 designated people that were not drinking to drive. Okay. That's just my thought. What y'all think about that part? I'm going to start queuing up some of the next pieces. I might jump us back a little bit in the timeline so y'all can see some of the people, but I might try to see if I can do it in sequence. We did the 14th. Let's do... Okay, let's do the other boating picture where they talked somewhat about the AI elements. I'm going to look in the chat, see if there's anything before I jump into that one. Okay. I want y'all just to see how that picture looked that got sent to the mother. Because to me, that already lays foundation. If this is a picture that you sent, we already kind of discussed to some degree about the picture possibly looking like the one they sent her, right? They talked about the other stuff being the ones that was initially sent to her possibly being modified. But let's look at this picture, because if you look, you can see that the lighting looks different, and I wanted to outline that. So let's go ahead and give her a little movement. Wait, let me see. I see a bingo. So before I jump there, bingo. But she knows about the unaliving and can't be seen. But I bet there are pictures that Crump has that they don't know or even know about yet. Well, let's hope that they've been collecting these receipts that say now, because once again, otherwise admissible. This stuff is sitting in public domain. I didn't pull stuff that wasn't acknowledged to be public, open, accessible. If an everyday person like myself can get it, certainly the legal team should be able to get it. Certainly the police and people should have had access to this to start to do some investigation. So yeah, I really hope they have some information. Especially because they had to spend a pretty coin to get the, legal counsel and all that. I really hope there's some things that have been collected that we have not seen. That wouldn't do my heart well to feel like all the information that possibly is out there is already sitting in public domain. That would actually make me sad. I really hope they got it. Let me see. What else? Okay, so somebody believed that the KKK could have been on the boat or potentially driving the boat. We don't know who was driving the boat. But certainly that's some information that we want. We would like to know who exactly. But see, here's the thing. It was 4 boats. And we have been hearing about a select group of people actually being there, right? That was, once again, she shows there wasn't that many people there. When we talking about their actual group, not just the whole overall event in the place, the venue. We talking about their actual group. It wasn't that many people there. So who all was driving? Because I'm counting 4 drivers. And we potentially got what? 1 possible adult. Now we feel like we're playing spades. We got, 4 and a possible what? We got a possible adult. I had other receipts that said that somebody's grandfather was supposedly in the place, but not on the boat. They were somewhere like near the water on the beach or whatever the case may be. I'm still gonna look for that receipt. I got it somewhere. But it's just very interesting as this plays out, like all the details that have been brought out, right? About who all potentially could have been around, connected, all those different things. So we're gonna look at these pictures that were sent to what the mother.
And as a follow-up to my last video, I wanted to show you this.
This
This
is the
from
same picture,
Nolan's
y'all.
mom's Instagram from the day after he went missing. This was the picture that she was sent. So naturally, these two pictures should line up, right? So what I did is I made sure to line up this little like black loopy thing here. I made sure to line up this part of the boat and this like rope here. Now watch. Look at the difference here.
Y'all see movement?
Look at that. He's barely moving. And the entire skyline is different. You can say, oh, these are different pictures and like people just moved slightly, but the skyline wouldn't fucking change. So what were they hiding? Because it seems to me they didn't want people to see this boat
Or that one.
or this green boat. Like, the skyline doesn't change over here. Look. It's
Also
same
the
place.
ground.
It's just over here. So 100% from the get-go, they were tampering with photographs. Absolutely nothing that they've given anybody can be trusted.
Now, mind you, that's the image that they sent his mother. Right? Because they said they sent her the picture. That's the picture they sent. That's the one from her page. Alfreda said wow in the chat, right? When we talking about a lot of AI images being circulated around, they're like, oh, you know, matter of fact, let's switch into the attorney next. He took a very assertive, borderline aggressive, if you will, you know, posture about certain things in the case, talking about the presence or introduction of things being altered. This came from his clients. Y'all see my body. You know? That came from his people. I wanted to give y'all another observation, but y'all want some more observations to extend on that piece, or y'all want me to drop into the next strategic actor? Y'all tell me which one y'all want. Which one? Because I can introduce you to the attorney. He said, so Andre said he don't even need to see no more about what's going on. He said, let's just, he already kind of know what's going on. I believe you. We got a little bit more for those who are ready. And Milo said, next, please. I will. Let's go to quickly look at the attorney.
I am about to wipe Evil Murr's smile clean off his face because this man is a joke. So yesterday I was playing with the contrast in this picture to try and get a better picture of the pattern on Morgan's swimsuit. I realized that half of this picture is not changing at all when I play with the shadows, which is an indicator to me of a photograph being altered. So then I started scrutinizing this picture because why would I ever have reason to doubt it before? And then that's when I noticed this boat seam underneath all of their legs. You can almost trace it all the way until you get to Nolan. Not only are these creases in different places, but there's no shadow, nothing underneath his legs here. In fact, if you look really closely, make sure your brightness is turned all the way up, you can see a seam right here that just stops.
Disappear.
And that would connect over here. Then I saw in between this elbow here, look, there is so much fabric that's supposedly his shorts. Not to mention that very intimate hand placement. I mean,
that's not present on the other side, by the way.
And then look, in between Morgan's legs, like, why does this shadow suddenly stop? You can see a seam here and then nothing. And then look at the way Nolan is holding this can. Got one finger like over the lid, but the can looks really like wide. And then his thumb is on the other side of the lid. Like, how would you hold something like that? Now look at this half of the picture. Notice how Nolan's head is casting a shadow going to the left. Same with Eric here. Head casting shadow to the left. Which means
That
right
way.
where I am on the screen
Yep.
would be the direction that the sun would be coming from. And yet his shadow is going straight down, and his shadow is going straight down and to the right, implying that their light source, their sun, is coming from over here. So is this picture fake? Then I started looking at the photos that they gave to Officer Tatum. Why is Nolan a giant? He and Jax are literally almost the same build and height. And I understand that perspective's a thing, but not when they're this close to each other, not when the camera is right here. And look, same problem with this one, with the shadows. Shadow going this way, shadow going this way, shadow going this way, shadow going this way, shadow going straight up and down, shadow straight up and down, straight up and down, straight up and down, straight up and down, to the left. And this jacuzzi tub looks normal at first until you zoom in. First off, why is his elbow blending into his hat? Why is his chest an outie? And whose fucking face is that? Because that looks like AI tried to recreate this guy. This is another picture of Nolan with them, and I'm like, why does his eyes look swollen shut? Why his neck as big as his head? But get ready, folks. I'm about ready to blow their little he wasn't on the Triton picture out of the fucking water. Because right here is Morgan's swim trunks. You can see his like beads here, his glasses, his hat. But I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on in this picture. Then I was comparing these two videos and I realized, oh wait, it's a visor. It's a visor hanging off of this. See, there's the bill and like the little like part there. But as I was comparing these two pictures, something fucking hit me. Look at black part, metal, white plastic, metal, visor. Black part, metal part, white plastic, no metal hole. Look at the steering wheel. The steering wheel has this like white flap thing that's going on here. What? No, wait. But look, there's the door. There's the door. What's going on here with this leg? I don't know. Now, do you guys see it? Can you see it? Vertical bars, horizontal bars. Vertical, horizontal. And it's not just that the vertical bars are missing. There is no horizontal bar like right here. But not only that, y'all see how there's like this curved bar here? Where's the bar in this picture? It should be going right next to the hat, like right into it. And yet we have nothing here. And I know y'all have lots of questions and I can't pretend like I have any answers to them.
Well, Andre said case solved. From where you're sitting, you said case solved. Milo said not that one, but the other one. And I go up, it says, so when the attorney was on Nancy Grace, look in the background at the liquor bottle. Yeah, okay. You talking about the bottle that came from Officer Tatum? Is that the one you're talking about? Give me a thumbs up if that's the right thing. Because Officer Tatum has, I forgot the name of it, but basically he has like liquor and it's like innocence or proof or something. It's something he has. And I did notice that was the, okay, yep, see, we listen, we all in them receipts, right? We in them receipts. Cause I noticed that too. I told y'all I'm all in there, but I try not to over inundate with too much information. But yeah, I noticed that too. I also, like I said, I tried to give y'all information about strategic actors. You're right, it was called Verdict. That's the name of the liquor. You see Verdict on there. It's a lot of like product placement, if you will, because you have that Verdict liquor bottle, and then you see that Cox hat, right? Very specific, right? Which part did I want to tell y'all about that? Because I got so excited. Like, yes, y'all saw the same thing I saw. There are some interesting pieces that were present in this video. Let me see. It was like one quick image about
I am about to wipe Evil Murr's smile clean off his face because this man is a joke. So yesterday I was playing with the contrast in this picture to try and get a better picture of the pattern on Morgan's swimsuit. I realized that half of this picture is...
That was the piece I want to also bring up. There's a video that I also have that was from her research, right? So I called her what? A social investigator, because she was not playing at all with these people. She all in there, right? If you're interested in her work with the Epstein file, she also did some similar work with regards to her efforts with that project, because she's definitely been digging in. But what I find interesting is everybody, they anchored us in the conversation of these all being his friends. His friends, his mom saying these people weren't around like that, right? Even the friends and stuff said they kind of wasn't around like, well, the parents of the kids kind of said they weren't as familiar. But here's the interesting part, right? There were no pictures. When you go on their social media accounts, there's no pictures. So if you're saying that's the anchor and the crux of everything, oh, we're friends. Better yet, we're all best friends. Everyone was best friends with Nolan. Everyone's best friend don't got no pictures on social media. No pictures. I could go through a few crates, because when I was a kid, my mom loved taking them Polaroid cameras. That does date me, I know. Y'all like Polaroids, girl. Yes, shake it like a Polaroid picture. Little Outcast reference. But like, we used to have the little cameras, boom. And I have crates and crates of pictures. People I didn't even like when I was younger. I got pictures with lots of folks. I find it very interesting that I got literal crates. And by the way, thank you for that, Mama Bear. Literal crates of pictures of people that, you know, really didn't like me. They just wanted to eat my cupcakes because she gave me cupcakes with Tootsie Rolls and candies and stuff on them for my birthday. And they just wanted the extra. They wanted the nice cupcake because they wanted to pretend to be my friend. I got pictures with them people. You telling me this your best friend and you don't got not one picture in a social media era? Back then, we had to really say, hey, I only get 30 pictures on this little thing, and we had to ring the picture and everything. We didn't know what it was going to look like, and say, you know what, I think I like you enough to take a picture. Because I don't know what this picture going to look like, but I'm going to take it, and my parents going to get it developed, and I got to wait 2 or 3 weeks. I got pictures with them people. From pictures probably 30 years old, okay? You telling me y'all friends and you can just take as many pictures as you want with your phone and y'all don't got no pictures on your page? She said she went on pages for about 30 youth, or let's just say 30 people. You know, these people grown, so, you know, look, about 30 people. Nobody really had pictures with him, but everybody his best friend. Very interesting. And back to the Officer Tatum, because like I told you, I did a little bit digging on him too. He apparently has a very interesting relationship, or he has some kind of connection with the Mississippi, like community, like police community out there, which might make a little bit more sense why they were willing to do interviews with him and him exclusively when it came to these self-identified friends. We're gonna get into that receipt. So Milo says, let's see, some branding, some potentially MAGA branding. Nancy Grace called them acquaintances. Yeah, you know, we look from the outside in, you know, auntie energy. We look, don't say friend. Let that be a very exclusive, elusive term. But you know, you never know. That happens with age. You kind of learn, and he was deprived of that opportunity of being able to get older and get that wisdom that comes with time. You don't have to always be older to have wisdom, but you certainly have more opportunities to come across it, and he was robbed of that, unfortunately. So yeah, and then also states, I think Nolan was sweet to them, but they used him, and we are their entertainment, and they only keep us around until they don't need us. Nolan went to college and had new friends. Yeah, he definitely could have gone to college and had new friends. He was supposed to be on his way there. He literally supposed to be on his way to college. He was supposed to be, you know, getting set up with his college stuff right now, you know. He was supposed to be, you know, the next day after this event where, you know, obviously it said that he lost his life. He had an interview set for a football scholarship while he was being in college, you know, and once again, he was robbed of that opportunity. So I hear Andre say hello and bingo. Bingo right there. You know what I'm saying? And bingo was their name-o, right? It's so unfortunate. But to me, I just had to bring that up while I was here, that I just thought it was interesting. No pictures? Now, keep in mind, I said I had pictures of people who just wanted to take my little cupcakes for my birthday, but, you know, it's no issue. I enjoy my little cupcakes. I like my little buttercream frosting. And I just find it interesting that these were his high school friends, right? These were his high school friends. Now, the other thing I found interesting is some of the other people that were there, because if you listen to Warren in his interview, he was talking about how he had his college friends, which, you know, obviously means he's probably a little bit older. He was in college already, right? Because Nolan was supposed to be going to school, right? He just got out of high school. I don't know about the exact ages of some of the other people, but some of them were saying, hey, these are our college friends, right? I get the impression that he didn't know necessarily everybody that was there. And then on top of the fact that people were saying that they're his best friends and stuff, it reads really weird. There was a report on one of the news stations about there being some conflict, because keep in mind, we know that there was a fight. We didn't get much information about the fight. There were some people who said that they were allegedly present. We don't know about that part. Said that somebody urinated on him. I don't know if that was before, during, or after the fight. But that's pretty disturbing thought, right? That I couldn't imagine if I'm friends with somebody do that to my friend, and that just rock. You know, where I'm from, that wouldn't just rock like that. You do that to one of my friends, you know, now we have an issue, you know. So it is peculiar that such an event occurred, if such an event occurred, right? It's so much information that's out there and things that make you go, especially when you're thinking about it through the lens of, oh, I thought we were talking about these being interactions amongst friends. Even some of the stuff that we were seeing, like interview-wise. So, like, yeah. Let me read the comments. Okay, so it's being said that Bart was the big man until Nolan was the rising star, because, well, once again, he was supposed to be pursuing a scholarship, you know, interviewing for a scholarship. So clearly very skillful man, because not everybody gets the opportunity to interview for a scholarship. Okay, so we see the only ones that talked about being in college was Bart and Nolan. The rest of them play video games and engage in things, allegedly. Okay, so did I show you this already, or did I not show it to you?
I am about to wipe Evil Murr's smile clean off his face, because this man is a joke. So yesterday I was playing with the contest.
I did. I showed you that already. I won't do that one again. Let's do... This was another friend.
Okay, this is my full Nolan Wells timeline with my supporting evidence. There were 3 votes.
This is the beginning part, just to give y'all the foundation.
And the timeline. By the way, if you like my work, you can support me in my bio, because by the end of this video, I'll be dropping never before seen evidence. Anyway, back to the timeline. Warren said they got there at 10:30, even though the GPS said that they dropped their waypoint at 11:19. He said the Tidecraft, the Palm Beach, and the Triton were all like anchored up next to each other. At 3 o'clock, he gets into a fight with some stranger who didn't like the way that he was talking to his girlfriend, because, I mean, look at the way he was talking in this interview, I don't blame them. And they had a fist fight. His uncle was like, we're getting the hell out of here.
I remember at one point in time, I look over and I see my uncle. My uncle's yelling at me to get in the boat. I stopped fighting. As soon as me and him made eye contact, I got an uncle. I got in the boat.
Then Warren says that his brother was also involved in the same fight.
He'll come up to me and say, hey, your brother just got in a fight. And obviously, I have a younger brother, and that's what she was talking about, and I was freaked out. So I walked over to the beach, and I didn't walk over. I ran over. I made a beeline. I talked to anybody, put my drink down, walked over there. And my brother was kind of angry, and, you know, there's a lot going on, but someone was getting pulled away. I don't know who it was. And my brother was like, oh, I just got in a fight. And this guy punched me in the face, and I punched him right back. Then I went to the ground, my brother put in an arm bar, and Nolan involved in it. Absolutely not. When I was over there, there was a bunch of younger guys like my brother's age, and I mean, Nolan, I never saw Nolan over there. Absolutely not. And, okay, sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
So you're ready to go. There's an issue with the boat.
Okay, yeah.
This is what it's about. So the fight happened, your brother, or the scuffle, you know, I'm assuming that it was cleared up. Right. You got your brother out of that situation, and then how did you find out that this boat is sinking?
Well, I walked back over, and, like, we're probably around each other for a little bit. I mean, you know, I was thinking anything else. I told my brother off the beach. I was just like, listen, get in the water, hang out with us, calm down. I mean, he was calm, but I didn't want anything else to happen, you know. And so once I got back over the boat, I got on the Triton, and the Triton had probably about 6 inches of water up to the transom, and I was freaked out because I'm good friends with Wyatt, and that was his boat, and no water's coming out, no excess water's coming out, and it was a big issue because I think the reason was because there were so many people getting on and off the boat. At some point, the boat was very, very crowded, and there was just a lot of people on, so it drags water.
Yeah, that's not how boats work. Boats don't flood getting in and out of water. Mind you, I'd also like you guys to see that they are in much shallower water than they claim. But I digress. As someone whose parents have had several boats in their life, boats don't just start sinking because people are getting in and out of the water. I think they were trying to run as well because there is an underage kid who just got into a physical fist fight on the island. All of them are drinking and driving boats, so they're trying to hightail it out of there. Now, Warren goes into so much detail that he accidentally explains what really happened, but not in the way that he was saying it.
I think over time we were out there for a couple hours, the boat started filling up with water, so I popped the starboard side hatch of the battery. The battery was completely underwater, and so the motor wouldn't turn down. I mean, my buddy would go to turn it down from the console, and it turned down, and then it comes right back up.
Now, trimming the motor means they move the propeller closer to the transom, and it lowers the bow, which means they can drive through choppy water without risking that choppy water to come into the boat. Failing to trim your boat up and taking off at a high speed can not only overheat very quickly and cause it to short, but if waves are high, it won't cut through the wake, and it will cause the boat to porpoise and possibly have rough, choppy waters get on your boat.
So, I mean, on the way out there, it was pretty calm. I think it was blowing like 3 or 4 knots. I mean, the waters were clear. It was a great day to go on the water. Sunshine, not cloudy at all. And I mean, it was a great day out there on 4th of July. And so, I mean, we followed each other out, and I mean, it was calm. It was calm. On the way back, it was a little more rough, but it was not anything on the place that's going to handle, or like it wasn't like you're being really mean.
Now, as you can see, it is tilted up here in the back, and look how low the front is. He admitted that they hit choppy water at one point, so not that hard of a stretch to think that the water started coming over the boat, and that's when they were in trouble. That's when the bilge pump stopped working. Because Warren, when they claimed that they were leaving and he was jumping into action because it was sinking, he says this.
Maybe disabled to where you could get it out from Horn Island. So what happens after that?
Wyatt jumps the water, tries to throw a rear anchor, and I'm looking at we're sitting looking, trying to pull trash out the bilge, and the bilge is basically a pump that pulls the water, the excess water out of the boat. So the bilge was failing to work. So any excess water just sitting in the boat wasn't getting pumped out. So I looked over the gun, and I looked at the release hole for the bilge. It was eating with the water. So, I mean, we're all freaking out. All of our, we're not focused on anything else other than the boat. Well, then, eventually, my buddy Mark on the timeline is like, I'm going to pull you all out.
So even though they were still on the island, he jumps out and throws out an anchor. Why did they pull the anchor up to begin with if they were sinking? If they were sinking, why was Bart offering to tow them out? Why would they risk being that close to the island and that close to ground to sink out further? Because again, look at how shallow of water these boats are in. So what I suspect is that everybody just hauled ass and left, but because the trim was not going down, it overheated, it stalled out, then the crashing waves were freaking everybody out. But even Warren couldn't keep his story straight or his timeline straight, because then listen.
All of our, we're not focused on anything else other than the boat. Well then, eventually, my buddy Mark on the timeline is like, I'm going to pull you all out. So we're around all this, all this chaos. Because we left at 4:30 and there were still just as many people there, if not more, than when we got there. I mean, probably around the same amount. It was crazy. Like, there was a lot of people enough. I mean, eventually, Mark pulls us out.
Eventually, Bart pulls us out.
So he says it right there, that Bart pulls them out, they leave at 4:30, and you may be thinking, well, he pulled them after, he towed them after, but...
We left at 4:30, but we really weren't pulled out away from everybody. We were probably about a quarter mile out, and we had the towing strap pulled from, Bart's port side cleat, or starboard side cleat, and he was on our starboard side bow, and so he was running on his power pole, so Bart turned around, pulled up next to our boat, and we were just trying to get situated. So that's when Wyatt called Cito.
And that's when Wyatt
we
called
know that
Cito.
That phone call was around 4 p.m. to the private towing company. Now, in my last video, I went into detail with the Bart, the fight, all of that stuff, the discrepancies between like the neck of water and then suddenly being in 31 feet of water, etc. I'm going to skip over that. Now, the last data point for the GPS
we have this document
was at about 8 o'clock that night. So then they go over to a female friend's house to go to the pool. And yet, instead of joining his friends in the pool, this is what Warren did.
At your a lady friend's house.
Right, I never got to the pool. I talked to her dad for a while, and I mean, all my friends were downstairs. I went upstairs, talked to her dad. We were talking about boats and stuff, and I've been with my friends all day. I was just talking to everybody, but
So you talked to the young lady's dad, and then Then how long was it before you realized, or you guys realized that, but where's Nolan at?
I mean, we're
All right, well, now I gotta stop your ass, because what 18-year-old goes to a friend's house to party, all the friends go downstairs to the pool area, and he goes upstairs to talk to her father about boats? Mind you, these children had been drinking all day long. And he and his buddies don't go home until 3 a.m., mind you. Now, I know it's been a while since I've been 18, but that's a long day in the hot, in the sun, drinking. Sounds to me like you were talking to this dad to help with the story. And then you go downstairs and your friends just so happen to be talking about Nolan, and then you're like, oh my God, I should call the Coast Guard.
Well, I went back downstairs and all my friends were just hanging out, and my buddy Wyatt had addressed, talking about Nolan, and I was like, well, where is Nolan? Have y'all heard from him?
It just seems pretty convenient that after his powwow upstairs with the father of his friend, he comes downstairs and then all of a sudden they start talking, have you seen Nolan? No, I haven't seen Nolan. Have you seen Nolan? Maybe we should call this person. We should call his mom. Almost seems like they actually go back downstairs after talking about what they should do about the situation with the dad, or whatever it is they were really doing at that time, came downstairs and started talking about Nolan publicly so that everybody at the party could be organic witnesses to when the conversation happened. Because he kept contradicting himself. He kept saying, I wasn't too worried about it, but then also we know that they can kill people. But also, maybe I would just call the Coast Guard, just to make sure it's okay. I'm so mad I didn't save it, but in one of these interviews, they said that Katie was supposed to come to the party with them later, which is why Nolan said he was going to hang back with her. So why would they dry snitch to their friend's mom before getting in contact with Katie? So as I was making this video, I caught something so big it changes everything. Throughout this entire interview, Warren insisted that Bart's boat was a tide line. He was so sure of it, said it over and over and over again, claimed that there were 20 to 30 people on that boat. By the way he talks about boats and the equipment and stuff, it seems like he has some general knowledge of it and knows a lot about boats. So maybe y'all can tell me why, in this report, when they gathered the GPS evidence, does it say that Bart was driving a tide craft, not a tide line? They're entirely different designs, purposes, manufacturing styles. Mind you, this is what tide crafts look like. They ain't fitting 20 people on them. This is more what tide line boats look like, y'all. So did Bart bring 2 boats with him? Warren said Bart's dad was originally supposed to go with them. And tide line boats don't fit 20 people either. So was there a 4th boat out there?
That information we've already seen, but yeah. Okay, so I see there was some discussion. Let me go ahead and look about the friends now. Okay, so welcome, Peaches. So it says the friends didn't cry at all, and he didn't get didn't have anything backpack, towel, etc. Driving a boat. Then I hear good points. Talking about, Peaches brings up again about Warren, kind of like a lot of the interviews kind of focusing around him. I got some receipts about him. We actually did speak great detail. So matter of fact, I'll show y'all this receipt. One thing I found very interesting, I guess, as we're speaking once again about strategic actors, right? That's not the right folder. So when if you go ahead and look, but yeah, I'll pick a different image than that one. Let's actually show you the, hopefully that's not a sensory overload as I move through the screen. But if you look here, Hudson, Benjamin Hudson, this is actually Warren's dad. He's Dr. Hudson, Dr. Benjamin Hudson. This is his dad who set up the fundraiser, because they do have a fundraiser campaign. And it specifically stands with the Nolan Wells targeted friends, okay? We see that is Warren right there. And we see that Cox hat that we were talking about earlier from that firm, Taylor and Cox law firm, is where the funds were going. And when you go look at the site, at the time that I did this was like about a week or so ago, it was 161,000. Last I checked, it was at 165. I have to go back and look. Let me see while I have y'all right here. Let me see. Let me see if I can put that in right while y'all are sitting right here. Give, send, go. Give, send, go. And this is for the stand. The target, yep, friends. Good. Let's see where the number is right now, real time. Oh, well. Okay, so at the time, this appeared to go open in public as of August 1st. I can't say that that's when it initially started, but that's when it appears based off Google search to be online and to have the very first donation that I can see, which I had looked in previously. It started on August 1st of 2026, which is the 18th day of the same exact month. They have fundraised $186,063 US, okay? As of 3 hours ago, someone gave $25, $20, $10, $100, $40, $50, $100, 50. So people, especially with the economy not necessarily being as good, people are definitely still giving generous amounts. When I was originally looked at this, when it first kind of came to my attention, I was seeing donations of $500, $1,000, they giving a pretty coin, they was giving a pretty coin. This is still a pretty coin, this is still, a couple Starbucks, cups of coffee. And based off recent news, be careful with that Starbucks. But don't know if you want to, y'all remember Nickelodeon slime, but a video I seen kind of scared me a little bit. Back to my little regulation videos, but that's a side note. Once again, these are, still people who are donating. They have, let me see, they had a section that would tell you how many prayers they got. So of the $200,000 request, they raised $186,063. And let's see, and $63, let's see, they had 3,339 donations. The page was shared about 2,517 times, and they received 552 prayers. We were able to see, listen right here, let's do last 24 hours. Can I see how many in the last 24 hours they got? Okay. So one day ago, so we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 donations in the past 24 hours were given to this page, or to this fundraiser rather. And keeping in mind that this fund was set to support Warren Hudson, Jax, Patello, Morgan Seymour, and many others have been move this. They have been, where is that sentence? I feel like it was inundated. Okay, inundated with death threats and all of that. So they stated that the first goal is to raise money to defend these friends against incoming wrongful death actions filed by attorney Ben Crump and his team. Our second goal, according to this fundraiser, is to fund a robust legal team to sue for the litany of slander and libel being spread by not only Crump, but also many social media influencers. news outlets, and local provocateurs. Who know better? If litigation becomes necessary, this fund will help provide the financial support needed to investigate claims, retain legal counsel, preserve evidence, and hold accountable those who cross the line from expressing opinion into conduct the law may recognize as actionable. In any jurisdiction, we can find them. This is not about silencing legitimate discussion or respectful disagreement. People are free to ask questions and express opinions. Okay, this is about drawing a line between defamation, targeted harassment, threats of violence, doxing, intimidation, and coordinated campaigns that destroy lives before the facts are known. Okay, we know the risk. Some of you may feel outwardly supporting Warren, Jax, Morgan, and others. So the three main people it appears that they're trying to provide legal defense for are those three people, and then they have left some wiggle room for and others, right? It's kind of like when you work your job and then they put some like in other duties assigned. You know, you like, well, go ahead and go write that out. But, you know, I understand them wanting to put a little wiggle room in there. So I think that's what that and others are. So, once again, from what I'm able to see, this started on August 1st. That's just really interesting posture. Your friend passed the month before. You ain't say none of this money was to help them with the funeral costs. You didn't say this was to help them try to figure out what happened. This is to defend if litigation says why. If you felt like it was an accidental death, which is what they initially said, is why would you feel that litigation might, if litigation is necessary? Questions that need answers. Questions that need answers. That's such an interesting posture. And then went on and said, you know what, we're going to just go ahead and sue everybody. Run it up. So interesting. If you watch the Nancy Grace interview, you see what I'm talking about, the posture. He was in there getting buck with that lady. As well, actually, I'll say this. One of the attorneys was. The one that said at the very top, you had them sitting on top of each other like this. The one that's at the top was real spicy. You know, it was giving California Reaper. You know, if you're familiar with peppers, you know, you had, you know, habanero is like a sweet heat, but that was California Reaper just hot across the board, just was firing up. He did not want to answer questions. He was very, as a matter of fact, about everything. And then the one who we see kind of more so doing interviews, or better yet, on the interview also with the group of the young gentlemen. And what was that other interview? He did another interview. I'm trying to think of who was the interviewee, or interviewer rather. He took more of a, let's say, firm position. That particular attorney. He also historically worked with Trump as his attorney historically. But the one that I was talking about that was in that Nancy Grace interview, like, he was very, very spicy with her, to the point that she was getting spicy back. Not to say that Nancy Grace doesn't get passionate when she feels very passionate about a topic, but it's not how you typically hear her talk to people when she's talking and interviewing, unless she feels like somebody kind of crossed her line, or, you know, kind of, you know, tripped up her wire, so to speak. She doesn't normally kind of just cut into people. At least that's not how I remember her being when I was younger and used to watch her. So that one kind of threw me off. I'm going to see if I have some of that. But just to kind of give you that background information. I guess while we're also here, I know that there was one. Let me see if I can show you. I'll just see if I can see it again. Did y'all see it? Oh, you said one isn't listed to practice in law in Mississippi. So I wonder if there'll be like a guest attorney. I know that sometimes they're able to do that. Okay, let me go back and look at some of these content. Am I afraid of being targeted? No, I am not. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. If I like to think about it from this perspective. I don't have children, but if I did, I would want to feel like people were helping. I feel like when you're a part of the community, you should bring unity to the community, right? So anything you can do to help, you hold people accountable, and the laws should work to bring about justice. And sometimes we have to push harder to make sure that in fact happens. They need to know that as people, we are asking that you hold people accountable in the ways that they need to be held accountable. If it's determined that X, Y, and Z doesn't stick or hold, then X, Y, and Z doesn't stick or hold, but still uphold justice as it's supposed to be upheld. Am I personally concerned? I am not. I'm a person of faith. People don't scare me. That's my personal belief. I also feel like my channel is a smaller channel. I don't believe they would come after me because I don't put myself in a situation where I feel like people would be able to. There would be no foundation. Everything that I have on my channel is from public domain, open access kinds of information. I typically go to verify all of my sources. So as I always say, I let stuff marinate on my channel. So as you can see, I waited a little bit before I presented some of this because I wanted to have context for things that got pulled down. I tried to offer some rationale as to my understanding on what happened. And I did look to see if they pulled it down from one site or source, or availability, a place availability, was it in other places, which means that content itself wasn't striked. Maybe it was just something specific that happened. They had some like logistical things going on. So I don't have those kinds of concerns. Also, let me look. There was this term. Okay, I was looking for this term, but there's a certain word that you would look up, and I have to bring it up at another point in time. But there's a certain term that you would look up, and certain states have it. I believe 40 states have laws that kind of prevent people from doing certain kinds of stuff to you if you're, trying to like respectfully report on certain kinds of things. And based off the state that I live in, that I had that protection under that law. I was gonna give it to you and give you which states that was, but I'm not presenting anything that's not in public domain. It's not like I'm going around telling people's personal information or like any of that, right? I don't do that. I've worked really hard to try to make sure that I'm not doing anything that violates someone's like personal safety or like even make their lives difficult. I also try to add like a little bit of empathy and just a little bit of more humanity in the conversations that I have on my channel, because I'm always talking about the harm absorption, like how does the individual absorb the harm. So for me personally, I don't feel that is the case. If it ever is, I will let y'all in my community know so y'all can be of support to me as I navigate that particular journey. I hope that I don't ever have to trek down or journey upon. But if it becomes the case, I'll be very vocal. No, I don't like to go swimming nowhere. I don't like to do nothing weird. I don't do nothing strange. So if you hear anything peculiar, you know that my family check on me often. We are close. No, I don't have time for none of that. I don't do weird things. No. But I do appreciate you for bringing that question and offering a little bit of support with that. Let's see. And matter of fact, speaking of, you talk about support and network, mama bears don't play. Just like Nolan's mom said, she was gonna get justice. Somebody did something to me, my mom gonna be like that man from Taken. She'll be looking at people. I got a special set of skills. That's one thing I would say. My mama bear don't play. I'm her little pudding popping. She would not be playing them type of games. Okay, when she want to have spades time and play dominoes, she need her little partner. She ain't be playing with them people like that. So I feel like I'm safe and I'm okay. I do appreciate your concern. Let me go to the next question. And someone said, but they know what I look like. Well, if somebody run up on me. Well, no, let me not say that. I feel that, once again, everything I say is come from public domain, and it's, as they said on their own fundraising page, someone asking questions, especially relevant to how does, let's say, a criminal defense attorney look into things? How does a prosecutor look at this information? That's usually the lens for which I'm having this discussion. I'm just establishing baseline in this particular life. That wouldn't be problematic. I have every right to do that. I have that right, and I would exercise that right. And if I were doing something that was inappropriate, then they could discuss that, and I would discuss that with them. But I'm not. I'm doing things that within, the liberties that I have, and I will always exercise that, just like I feel empowered to always exercise my right to vote and do things like that with civic engagement. I have a right to speak on things. If I see an injustice, I'm going to speak on it, because if injustices were happening where I am, which I'm sure, you know, geographically speaking, there's lots of injustices that happen, but if it was brought to my attention if injustice is happening, I'm going to bring some attention and shed whatever light I can, whatever privilege I can lend to a conversation to help bring attention to it, I will. Whatever I can leverage to bring attention to something, I will leverage, so that I can bring support to the communities and people. Because if I were in a place in a position of wanting to know an answer to something, if I needed justice, if I needed truth, if I needed support, I would want someone to do the same thing for me. I think back to the fact that I started college almost 20 years ago. So a lot of my friends, somewhere right after high school, and pretty standard for, you know, people kind of the first couple years of college, start to have their families, right? I very easily could have had a child Nolan Wells' age. He could have been my child, could have been your child. And if that was our children, we want somebody to advocate and to stand in that gap and say, that's not right. Please help and support. Give us some information. We may not like the information that we come across, but you're going to tell us something, right? We're not going to just push nothing under the rugs. Ain't going to be no rug pushing around here. So whatever ways we can lend our voice, we just lend it. If they see my face, and my face is one of many. Okay, so I saw something along the lines of from Milo, that attorney is Edward. Okay, the defamation lawyer working alongside the Tyler Cox to represent the friend. He's based out of New York. Yeah. And then Andre said he was gonna be at my 6. I appreciate that. You said we come in and help you. That's right. That's right. I appreciate that. Stay at my 6 and I stay at your 6. If we all work as a unit, right, we're mighty. You know, we be by ourselves, by individual fingers, we be by ourselves, you know, some things could happen. You get disjointed, get discombobulated, right? But when you're mighty and you're strong, you work together, that's a little bit different, right? That's a little bit different. Not saying we're going to put pause on people, but all I'm saying is we work well and work best when we are together and we are unified. That's why I said bring a little bit of unity to the community. What is the next question or statement? And then also Milo said an out-of-state attorney must apply for, yep, you right, practice law. Yeah, you are absolutely right. And a red crump is helping other content creators that try. Yeah. And then also I wanted to admit there was a GoFundMe that was put together for Christine Wells, who's the mother. That was put together, and some of those resources would more than likely be helped to help with the investigation, help support anyone who is involved in trying to bring about information to help with this case. So absolutely. But listen, let's just speak into existence that they stay up off me. You know what I mean? Because I don't want the stress. I don't want the problem. You know what I mean? If it's I don't ever want to be a problem, right? But if it's a problem, you know, no problem. But I don't want no problems. You know where I'm from? Listen. I don't need, nobody wants to add extra trauma or triggers, okay? No, thank you. I lived enough life. I don't need that kind of extra little shot of adrenaline, you know what I mean? But once again, if any of us were in that position, we want somebody to sit in the gaps and help support us while we are navigating whatever we're dealing with. So absolutely would love to bring attention to it and support. And also keep in mind, there are also lots of other cases that are going on that also need attention, you know, from the community that also could garner. There are lots of cases. And as a matter of fact, ironically enough, we talk about the power and the impact, right? I always talk about power, more so I should say harm absorption, but let's talk about impact from this lens. Because of this case that's happening in Mississippi, I believe there were 3, I know for a fact 2, but I believe there were 3 other cases that happened that had suspicious deaths. They are now reopening and looking at those. So when we talk about the power and the impact of asking the question, of saying that answer is not sufficient, I'm going to need you to work and do a little bit more. We as the people, our taxes pay for you guys to have your jobs, your government jobs. You will actually do a proper investigation. You will provide us with the information. We don't have to like the information. That's the result. We can't guarantee. Results are never guaranteed, but the effort is required. The work, that is required, right? That is required. So, is there anything I heard big facts. I see a lot of hearts in the chat. I thank y'all so much for sticking with me as we navigate this conversation, and also we lay the rest of the foundation down. Let us see. There was a couple more things. Like I said, I ain't gonna keep y'all too long. But when it comes to the conversation of Warren, because once again we did bring that up. Oh, also there was a discussion about from the People magazines, although the original source article is actually from Sun something. I can probably pull that up as well. But the father of Nolan, who is what we should his name again, what, Dr. Benjamin Hudson, he said we don't know what happened. So he pledged, or better yet, offers I said 5. That's a big difference. $50K for information, and insists we want to know what happened. So he offered $50,000 to get information that could lead to like an arrest or something like that, which I found interesting. Specific language about what type of information, but $50,000 reward, which he said was to match what Al Sharpton put up. Okay. And one of the very first posts you can actually find about this case was actually also Warren's mom, where she said she was hurt, broken. You like, girl, she all up in these receipts, just so y'all can see. This was the Facebook post from the mom, Warren's mom, on July 7th. And she indicates that our son Warren loved Nolan dearly, right? And then she said she also graduated high school with Christine Wells. So they're of the same family and all of that good jazz. Interesting. You know, that's what you said on July 7th, but by April 1st, y'all was putting funds together for a legal team. That's quite a change in posture in 1 month. Technically, not even a full month. Said y'all grieving with them and you're supporting them, but we didn't see y'all together with them in any of the interviews. Interesting, right? It's an interesting posture. It's just very, very interesting. I don't like to assume anything, but sure enough, you know, that's interesting. Let me show y'all just a couple more things. Let me go back. I had a couple more things I was just gonna show y'all. Well, that wasn't it. I want y'all to see. Look at the difference in interview 1 versus the interview 2 for Nolan. That don't look like 1 month, do it? Here, y'all see that? You said as far as the offer, I don't know exactly what number that goes to, but that portion, I didn't investigate that part. But it was very peculiar. It seemed like, you know, basically give us the information. That's a whole nother piece. Like, what the part that had me at pause was people, instead of going to the police, they was going to TMZ. I said, what kind of stuff is going on here? That's just an option. You know what? We going to TMZ. A lot of people say, oh yeah, I caught something on my camera. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to TMZ. I say, so TMZ must be cutting a check or something. Or maybe people just want a little bit, it's say 5 minutes of fame or something, but I don't know. Something about that just don't sit right with my spirit. I don't like that. You know, people went to TMZ with information. It just seems odd. You know, it just seemed really, really odd. I do get that some people said they just weren't aware that, you know, that information was needed. Because, you know, you might not know until like later. You're like, oh, okay, they don't have this information presented. But then when you were aware that that information was needed, you took it to TMZ. They said they wanted, I guess, to collect some funds or something like that. Like one person I saw, the one person was questioned about their desire to collect funds, and they kind of said, no, that wasn't it. But the person interviewing them kind of indicated like, oh, it seemed like you were looking for something, whatever that X may be, right? I don't know exactly what they were offered or promised, but yeah. I just put my hand all over the camera. Y'all like, girl. That's how my pictures looked when I was a kid. My parent had their finger all over the thumb all in the pictures and stuff. My bad, y'all. My apologies. You know, we're working at fine tuning it. Yeah, so many family memories with thumbs and stuff all up in the cameras. Now we family for real, y'all. So it said Warren lost weight. Yeah, I definitely agree. He looks like he has gone through quite a bit. Look at that change. Looked like he lost like some muscle toning, like right in there. He just really looks like he's been through quite a bit in that period of time. Right? Because a lot of stuff has been directly, as far as like the public discussions, they've kind of, a lot of them have been surrounding him and funneled through. You know, his father set up the financial fundraising. His mother set the very first social media thing. You know, he's the one doing a lot of interviews. I mean, very interesting. Yeah, someone put in the chat, you know, the police is, you know, they kind of, you know, a joke, and TMZ pays. So that's from Milo, right? Unfortunately, I like to believe that they're going to do their job. I don't like the way they mishandle this. And because of the high level of mishandling that's been happening, I feel like higher authorities should be in place by now. Like, it's too much happening at this point. I believe that higher authorities should be, you know, in place. I just do. Like, it's too much going on. Like, honestly. Let me pull this next piece up. As far as a strategic actor, because there's a certain element of discussion that has kind of been around race. Let's see which one. I'm trying to think of which one from him, just because we don't want to overly dive into his content, but I just wanted to offer a little bit about strategic actors. I guess I'll pick this one, surrounding care. Just so we'll talk about the general handling of Black people and their bodies. We'll do that one. That's a little less inflammatory than others. And it's 50 seconds. If you want more, then I can jump into another one.
To say that Donald Trump is racist is the craziest thing I've heard.
Donald Trump.
Have you ever?
Oh wait, okay. This is the recap.
Obamas as monkeys.
Now he did not. He already said. That,
I teach in the public school system. You are uneducated.
Let me finish what I'm saying.
I'm trying to get my story out, and if I can finish my story.
It's not story time, man. The point is, police do more good.
The point. I say you're getting roasted right now, but you're being very polite about it. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your conceding to my arguments.
Okay. I wouldn't say that, but okay. So, is it the rap music?
If that's one indicator.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rap music.
It's rap music.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Who wrote that song?
Now let me give you.
Okay, so this is a show called Jubilee where they have people of different viewpoints debate. It says, yes, TMZ frequently practice checkbook journalism. Okay, paying for photos, videos, original documents, and tips and leads. Absolutely. And I feel like that was one of the first ones we all heard about doing that. So I thought I had a couple different ones. Let's see. You know, okay, here. This is where he makes some interesting statements about cattle slavery. Let's hear his thoughts.
I don't believe that you can say that money was stolen from Black people during slavery.
Oh, but
let me.
Black people hurt Black people more than anyone else hurts Black people. My question to you is why?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that it stimulates from a few different facets, and I think a lot of them are responsible, in, but for the most part, by Black people. When you are not raised in a loving household, and you're not protected, you don't have a father in the household, those things lead to devastating outcomes. Young men doing things they're not supposed to do, like we see in modern society, these young YNs. All of these things are contributing factors to decisions that we make.
Okay, cool. So what you're describing is a byproduct of poverty, right? And what we know under a capitalist system is that poverty compounds over time and history as well as wealth. And what has happened systematically as well as systemically in the system is that Black people have been pushed away from wealth creating mechanisms. This has happened for generations, even past slavery. Even if we were to argue that after slavery, nothing else happened. There was no Jim Crow laws, there was no redlining, there was no unequal implementation of the GI Bill. We would still see that, like, our country has lived under this disenfranchisement of Black people longer than it has been free. So my question is, what do you think accounts for like the $4 to $16 trillion that was stolen from Black people through slavery? Like, where is that equalizing mechanism?
I don't believe that you can say that money was stolen from Black people during slavery.
Oh, but
let me explain. Because money wasn't stolen, opportunities were not there because Black people were slaves. It's not a fair comparison.
So imagine this: you got 200 people on a plantation, and they're making you millions and millions of dollars, right, a year, through their labor, right? So what happens is there's no money to steal because Black people weren't granted the humanity to be compensated with the value they created.
Okay, so just wanted to offer you a little bit of context of what I can find. This is what he chose to do as far as his like interviews after he did his, well, I should say this is him being interviewed or engaged in some type of social programming or whatever you want to call this, after he did his big set of interviews. This is the most I could find about any of his thoughts or ideologies and beliefs outside of his direct channel. So I did try to offer some context of something. This is another piece.
Everything I heard, everything I've listened to thus far, I think you're foolish.
Give me an example of what I've said that wasn't true.
Let me get to it.
Give me something I said that wasn't true.
I don't think anybody here would disagree that good policing is bad. We're talking about bad policing. We're talking about bullshit policing. We're talking about the kind of policing that puts gentlemen like you and me in prison for unjust crimes. You like to cite that you're a police officer. Let me cite my professional background. Let me cite my professional background.
I have been in that profession.
10 years writing policy in government.
You weren't a police officer.
And
but you weren't
state
a police
of California
officer.
levels. And
you never arrested anybody.
You didn't write policy. I did.
I enforced the law.
So, okay, I write the law.
But you don't enforce the law.
You don't enforce the law. You don't enforce the law appropriately.
You just made it up.
You like to use one-offs. Let me use one.
You don't need to use one-offs. You just make it up.
In the city of San Diego, there's a Black police officer that sued the San Diego Police Department.
Anecdotal.
With regard to, I mean, bro, all day you've been coming up with me. Now
I got statistical data points. Where do you want to go?
But, like, I need you to keep that same
Black
energy,
people commit
I need you to
over
keep the
half
same
all violent
energy.
crimes.
And that's the problem with Black conservatives like yourself. You don't know how to keep the same energy.
You're just talking emotionally.
It was
me.
Well, I'm trying to give you facts.
Hey, come on with it.
You're supposed to be a police officer. Hold your head, bro. Hold your head. You interrupted everybody, bro. I got
You're here to
2-3
debate me.
minutes.
I'm not here to listen to you talk in circles.
You talking like you was a state trooper, you was a Secret Service.
I know cops all across the country.
But I did too.
I know policy.
I do too.
I get to your point.
You don't know policy because you never written.
We're talking about policing in the Black community. We're not talking about policy.
I want to hold you to account because police officers like you don't like accountability. So I want to hold you to account. I'm trying to get my story out, and if I can finish my story.
It's not story time, man. The point is, police do more good.
The point was,
police do more good.
The point was, with regard to training, the San Diego Police Department showed a video training officers of that department depicting Black people as primary perpetrators of crime.
Okay, so we can also see, just based off of that, it kind of gives us a little bit of insight about his viewpoints. I think because of the unique posture and position that he holds and some of his beliefs about people of color, specifically Black people, that might explain maybe some of the reason that he was the one maybe doing some of the interviews with Warren and Jax and, you know, the group of people. Because if you just heard some of what he just said, that very interesting posture. And once again, I do try to be kind in the things that I select. There's some other stuff that he said as well, but that was one of those most recent things he had out there. That was some place, actual event on line called Jubilee, where they have people debate, right? People come in and they do debates, and that's where he went recently. And those are the things that he said. It gives us a little insight about who he is, because once again, when it came to the interviews, they exclusively been interviewing with this gentleman, right? And we noticed, as someone mentioned earlier in this chat, what we saw, that liquor bottle or verdict that he appears to be directly connected with. I believe it's his liquor that he promotes. We saw that sitting in the office of the attorney, the Cox attorney, and it's set in the background while they were being interviewed online. Associations, positioning, posture, branding, you know, very interesting, right? Very interesting. So I told y'all, we strategic actors, we tried to jump through all of them. Also, since I did give you information about the fund for, I'm actually give you this video next, but I gave you the funds for the Give, Send, Go, which is the fundraising place that they used for, or under the name Stand With Nolan Wells Targeted Friends, right? So this funds, let me look again for the grouping. I just want y'all to see some of the comparisons and numbers. I already kind of broke down what they said the main goals were for, but this was specifically supposed to be in relationship to Warren Hudson, Jax Patello, Morgan, Seymour, and more, right? I told you there were at least 10 donations in the last 24 hours, right? I told you the total number was $186,063 US dollars, right? They had a total goal of 200,000. In that, they had 3,329 gifts, or donations rather. They had 2,517 shares, 552 prayers sent out, right? With the last payment or donation being 3 hours ago. I want to give you just a quick comparison to Christine Wells, the fundraiser she has on GoFundMe, right? It's called In Loving Memory of Nolan Xavier Wells. The goal was 950,000, right? And this was supposed to include, you know, funeral, investigation, legal, all of that. At this point, they're 91% of the goal, right? $855,624 were raised. Okay? That was 66 recent donations. Let me see if it shows me the whole setup. It says one of the top donors was Byron Allen, the person who had the weather stations. He did a donation, the top donation of $100,000. This fundraiser was created on July 6th. And then there's some peaceful messages here. I was looking to see because I thought I saw earlier. Okay, yes. So this campaign has 16.9K donations, you know, at varying amounts. So hopefully the family knows that people are truly praying for them and, you know, hoping that they are okay as they navigate something that parents should never have to navigate, point blank and period. My heart always goes out to them. But keep in mind, you're like, oh, 100,000, I can't do that. But trust me, the most recent donation was $10. So we'll take that Starbucks, that you might be able to give up if it's a audible book payment that maybe you was gonna make. Whatever it is that you can offer, I'm sure to help this family as they navigate, these different terrains and different things that they have to navigate, potentially criminal elements, the civil piece, the investigation. There are so many things that went with this. There also were donations that were given by other places. If I recall, there was an article that I pulled where it talked about some of those. Colin Kaepernick helped with the independent autopsy. Tyler Perry helped with the funeral. And I believe, was it Spike Lee? They didn't say exactly what activity was done, but I do believe there was some engagement there. I see some people saying they got to call it a night. And we appreciate you being on live. Hopefully you enjoyed this experience of being on the channel. Hope you like, comment, subscribe and come back. Because listen, we're going to be really adding some of the doctrines and foundational things. But we wanted to make sure that the baseline was here tonight. So I definitely wanted to upload this now. But yeah, thank you so much for being a part of the engagement. You're definitely a part of the community this evening and giving us lots of good information. Hopefully you stick and stay around. Got a couple, I think maybe 2 more videos, and then we should actually be wrapping. So hopefully we have the baseline. We get to ask some questions, and any additional information people want me to put back up, I'll certainly do that. One more video here.
So I have really outdone myself because I'm sure you're here wanting my take on part 2 of the interview, but we're not going to talk about that. Trust me, you're gonna want to be sad. Thanks
See
to
the
this
names?
interview, I was able to finally
Morgan, Jax, Warren,
and names together.
and the attorney I was telling
y'all.
y'all.
For sure that this is Jax. And now we know for sure that this is Morgan. He's literally wearing the same hat and the exact same armbands. So why aren't they on the Triton? A very unique blue swimsuit and an orange and yellow swimsuit. And now, thanks to Officer Tatum, we finally have a very clear video of them calling for the CETO. And I don't see an orange swimsuit anywhere.
Y'all see that?
I don't see a paisley swimsuit anywhere. So where are Jax and Morgan on this boat? We see what looks like Jax cuddling up to Katie on Bart's boat. So is this Bart over on their boat? Because here he was in that video handing out beers from his boat, and the sunglasses and the hat look the same. But what if it's not? Stick with me, I'm going to come back around to it. Because now I want to talk about Warren's 17-year-old brother, Carter. Carter, who we know got into a fight with someone and put someone in an armbar on the shore. Carter, who Warren said he told to come over and hang out with all of them and chill out. Carter, who practices Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Notice the hand placement. And if you're like me, I had to go look up and see what an armbar exactly is and how it is done. And oh, look at the placement of that arm. Yeah. Now this seems to me like it definitely could be Carter. The picture was just taken in December, so the haircut, the hairline, the body type, all of it. We also know that the person in the red shorts were on the shore when the fight happened. Now, y'all remember this picture, the Katie Snapchat picture? Well, I brightened it up. All I did was just pump up the exposure, nothing else. And look in the background here. Oh, red shorts, just like I said. Lighter colored hair with a very familiar looking back of the neck. Now, of course, I'm not saying whether this is or isn't Carter. Boy, this wouldn't look good for anybody if this is Carter on Katie's boat at 6:02. But you know, one underexposed, blurry picture a smoking gun does not make. Unless somebody with a very unique haircut and a very distinct piece of jewelry happens to show up in one of these pictures. Because Mullet Boy here has always bothered me because for some reason he's wearing what looks like jeans. Not saying they are jeans, just can't definitively prove one way or the other whether they are or not, or if it's just the design of the swim trunk. When I went back through some of the photos I had collected of Bart Jr. to try and figure out if this was him or not, I found this picture I had archived. Thanks to the tattoo in this picture, which is the reason I screen grabbed it, that's why I'm like, I don't think this is Bart, because I feel like I would see the tattoo there, but, and mind you, this picture is a couple of years old, but I just kind of wanted a timeline for this tattoo for identification purposes. And then I stopped getting distracted by the tattoo on his arm, and I looked at the bracelet on his wrist. Pretty unique set of bracelets, right? I mean, hopefully by now you've figured out where I'm going with this. Why, what a unique set of bracelets. So between the mullet and these bracelets, someone may come to the conclusion that Katie and Bart were on a boat together. Maybe not Bart's boat, because after all, they're claiming that this boat belonged to a Marty McGrath, who's the one who came and got people. But if that's Bart here, then who was driving Bart's boat? Did you guys know that Bart has a younger brother? Very similar looking, but I'll tell you what, very different jawlines. Almost like the jawline of this person on the Triton. And guess what his brother's name is? Brooks. Now, where have I heard that before? Hasn't somebody talked about my buddy Brooks in previous interviews? I always said the whole "we called Bart that morning" story didn't make fucking sense. I have a theory that I'm flushing out. But thanks for doing this interview, guys. Wouldn't have been able to figure this out without you. But you know, since we're all liars and grifters anyway, just a reminder to everybody to check out my link in my bio if you want to support my work. I told you that lawyer was giving away the game when he kept saying just their three names over and over again.
Okay. Right? Let me see. I want to give y'all one more video that I feel like was of substance. Let me see. One I kind of did before, just so y'all can have. Okay, it's under a different video. Let's go into different album. Maybe homegirl don't have it. I done collected so many receipts. I told y'all I had to document myself. As you can see, we can see the coordinates right up in here. That's not the one I wanted to show y'all though. I wanted to show the time, as we were talking about the coordinates and the time. We have it right here because I told you I was able to pull that receipt myself to kind of line it up, and told you in fact that what I had access to and what she was using was the same exact document, or appeared to be the same exact document. If I don't see it, I won't force it. But there was another video where we were kind of showing some of the friend, the one with the bathing suit. We're kind of lining her up to being in that environment as well. And I thought y'all might want to see that, you know. But I also get it. I get it. Someone put online that this was supposed to be potentially a relative of one of the members that was on the boat. Once again, we're talking about the adults being on the boat, right? Somebody asked, is that Grandpa Jerry at Horn Island? This is what Grandpa Jerry looks like, and this is the island, but we don't know, right? We don't have an ability to verify that right now, but some people were putting some alternate ideas out there. I don't see the one video I wanted to show y'all about the timeline, but I do feel like it's on the channel, so feel free to look for the one with the timeline that talks about the bathing suits and whatnot, because it would talk about a little bit more about the blue bathing suit, because she was going and using her Snapchat, verifying like, hey, I did, you know, I was here at X time and I wasn't here at this other time, Y time, let's say that. So for the most part, we're gonna put that as putting us up to date, right? Child, we was on that thing. Why? What? I almost said I was on here for 200 minutes. I know they lying. Thank y'all for being with me. Is there any questions at this time? I would love to be able, especially y'all spent this time with me, I would certainly love to be able to show you or go back and show if necessary, right? If there was something that you wanted to see. I see thank you and all that good jazz. Well, then we'll end as we kind of started, conversation-wise. Another
Congresswoman,
TMZ.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the Nolan Wells investigation. Some people feel like it's racially motivated. What do you think?
I mean, I think that specifically as Black Americans in the United States right now, we are always going to question whether or not there is a racial motivation, but also, if you know the history of Mississippi, I think that you'd have to be blind not to question potentially what is happening, especially in the case of an 18-year-old who ends up deceased without his cell phone, without any communication whatsoever with anybody, prior to ending up deceased, and he was out with his Caucasian friends, and then law enforcement tells everybody there's no foul play to be suspected. Now, a blind man could see that there's something to investigate, and so I want to applaud the legal team, Ben Crump and his team, as well as his parents, for not giving up and accepting no as an answer.
Well, it sounds like you think it is racially motivated.
I absolutely think that, I can tell you that we don't have any answers, but if you think that race is not something to look at, then you are not really trying to investigate.
So what do you think?
Well, I mean, you know me, I'm a civil rights lawyer. I mean, I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the fact that these white kids deleted their social media accounts. It's not like they sat down and talked to law enforcement. It's not even like law enforcement decided that they wanted to sit down and talk to them. They decided, oh, the little black boy ended up dead without his cell phone, without his friends, going and telling his parents, oh yeah, we got the cell phone. They got to go and track down the phone and find the phone. It looks like a racial thing to me, but hey, maybe we'll find out that it wasn't.
Well, what's interesting is we had his football coach on our TV show today, and he said that there was never any racial tension between any of the students or anything like that. So, I mean, that kind of points that maybe this wasn't racially motivated.
I mean, I can't say what even the cause of death really is. We know that there's an independent autopsy that's going on. But I can tell you that race is absolutely playing a role. What role? Whether it had to do with his death, whether it had to do with the fact that maybe your friends left you to die, or your friends didn't care that maybe you did die. I do believe that there's a racial component, or if it's just in law enforcement not feeling as if Nolan Wells was worthy of an actual investigation, but instead decided that there was no foul play, seemingly with no evidence, without talking to any witnesses. That to me is where there are racial components to this for sure. But I will not say that I know for sure that race played a role in his death.
Are you in the camp of if Nolan was white and his friends were...
Yeah. Okay. The friends, listen, they would have absolutely been under the jail with no questions asked first.
Really?
But for sure.
All right, so this is TMZ with a attorney who was also a congresswoman, and who historically fought as what civil rights attorney. So that was her opinion. This was before the actual autopsy information came out. Once again, they didn't make the autopsy information public quite yet, but that was a little bit before then. But just wanted to also add that, so when people are kind of saying, well, why are they having that discussion? Why is that piece being added? Because people have historical foundations and experiences that kind of ground that feeling, that experience, and that belief, right? And if that is to be disproven, right, you need to have what? Information. You need evidence. So once again, the mother fighting for transparency, accountability, and information. No one says what the results will be. You know, we don't know. We might not like the information. I mean, we have a loss of life. You know, I don't really think any information is going to necessarily make that mother feel better, right, about not having access to their child anymore. However, in her grieving process, she does need information. I think she is owed that. I think the community, you know, that was connected to him is owed that. And that's why, you know, you push for the advocacy. So today we kind of talked about advocacy. We talked about strategic actors, follow my legally everywhere framework. We were able to look at some interviews, the interviewers, the attorney's perspective. We were able to look at relationships, look at some different activities throughout the videos, the routes, the cameras, what we talked about, them flock cameras and different other things that were going on, the social experiences that offer us what different information, but cameras, right? Video. We were able to look at the boat layout. We talked about some of the timeline theories, right? And we've been able to talk about some of the reliability that comes with some of these interviews because they come at different varying levels, right? I have always tried to frame all the information through the lens of how might a prosecutor look at this information, how might a defense, team look at this information, because this is now in public domain, right? So it is now accessible. It is otherwise admissible, right? So this is not becoming the piece of the puzzle. So now these things themselves are becoming, once again, a piece of the puzzle because it's accessible. It becomes a part of the conversation. We now have what? We now have a shared baseline. So now as we move through the rest of the, this Learn With Me, criminal law case study, whether you're following just the case study portion where we're kind of mapping through the lens of learning criminal law, looking at Nolan Wells case, or if you're just going to kind of follow the Learn With Me where I'm literally studying. I really hope you enjoy the content. I really hope that you enjoy being a part of the community. I really work hard to share the things that I find, things that I learn. I just think it's such a beautiful thing to share. Sharing is caring. I feel like information should be accessible. So as I'm learning things for school, reading books, I just like to find ways to share. I had it printed the first time, and then I said, let me make it digital so y'all can see it this way, because when I had it printed out on posters, that didn't seem as accessible. So I'm always trying to meet as many accessibility needs as I can. I'm always trying to share. I believe that we are each other's community. Try to bring unity to the community. There'll be things that I learn from you guys, and there'll be things that you learn from me. There'll be things that we learn together real time. I look forward to it. I'm always excited about the things that you put in the comment section. So today has been a special treat. You guys have been lighting up this comment section. So I thank you so much for being present with me. Continue to comment, like, subscribe, share. So, we can continue to build out our community, but also, definitely subscribe so that, you're being informed when I do another live, because I do pop up pretty often. I'm always putting things up every week, so you can be certain that you're getting something every week. I don't want to commit to every day. We're not quite there yet, okay? We're building there. We're not quite there. I like to be transparent about that so that, you can anticipate seeing me every week, probably a couple times a week. That's pretty fair. Offer there. But I just appreciate you guys so much. I did not expect to have this many people on this live because this is later than I normally would do. So my heart, I really just appreciate the fact that you will be a part of the community, that you value how I think and process, and you're willing to navigate those with me as I look at things real time, learn things real time. It really means a lot to me, because this grew organically. I didn't send it to a million friends. I didn't, blast it out that way. I literally just asked that the community find me, and you guys did. So thank you so much for that. This is Legally Everywhere with Child. Well, we legally everywhere, looking into everything. And I'm going to see you I hope to see you in the next video. Until then, you take care of yourself. Practice self-care. Engage with this stuff in a way that's comfortable for you. Continue to engage and come back to the next video. Next time.